Liberty and justice for all.
Trustee Voorhees.
Present.
Trustee Powell.
Present.
Treasurer Roman.
Here.
Supervisor Kowal is excused for this evening. Clerk Noble here. Trustee Smith.
Here.
And Trustee Ruggles.
Here.
I'd like to make a motion to have Trustee Ruggles chair the meeting tonight. And I would like support by Treasurer Roman. Roll call vote. Trustee Smith.
Yes.
Trustee Ruggles.
Yes.
Clerk Noble, yes. Treasurer Roman.
Yes.
Trustee Powell.
Yes.
And Trustee Voorhees.
Yes.
Wow, okay. How about that? It's unanimous. All right, so here we go. It's gonna get a little rough. Probably a little
I'll help you.
bumpy. So treasurer wants to carry me for a few rounds at some point. I'd appreciate that. The next item on the agenda is public comment. Anybody that wishes to speak about an item that's not on the agenda has 3 minutes to speak. Please state your name and address when you come to the podium. Is there anybody that wishes to speak? Come on up.
She asked me if I could get some pictures, or just one bunch to each group.
Hi, my name is Sarah Bazinet.
Ma'am, can you say your full name and your address and where you live?
My name is Sarah Bazinet. I live at 99 Danforth Street,
City?
White Lake, Michigan.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your time this evening, and sorry if I get emotional for what I'm about to share with you.
You'll be fine. They're all your friends.
Sorry.
Yep.
On February 20th, my golden retriever, Marley, and I headed out for a walk in our subdivision when he was attacked by 2 pit bulls at 127 Danforth. It's a rental. There was a total of 3 pit bulls. When I saw the dogs push through the gate, I had Marley heel. Once the attack started, I deployed my pepper spray. I was able to get one dog off his face by spraying it. I used the remainder on the dog attacking his left side. A car was approaching from 81 Danforth. I screamed for help. Nobody was hearing me. The car started blowing her horn nonstop. That's when the owner's son came out, hitting and pulling on the dog, trying to release my dog from its mouth. And he got bit on the hand. Had it not been for the lady in the car, her horn, the son coming to my aid, my fast reaction, having pepper spray, the situation would have been worse. I feel like it would have been a different story if it was a kid or an elder. You can see from the pictures my dog had bad injuries from the attack that only lasted 55 seconds. There were 3 adult pit bulls, 10 puppies, 3 adults living in a 600 square foot rental home. He spent several hours at the vet. They put multiple drain tubes and stitches in him. The first 24 hours, he whined and wouldn't lay down. We had 3 sleepless nights and days and a few rough weeks. Today he is better, but he will live with a mass on his left chest area. Mid-March, the landlord relocated the tenants and dogs to another one of their rentals in White Lake. I hope the property has proper fencing and their neighbors are safe. On April 9th, Marley was outside in our fenced-in yard when a pit bull from 166 Danforth showed up at our gate. My heart sank. This ended up not being a fence issue, but it was a dog that slipped from the owner's hands while transferring the dog from his car to his house. Almost 2 months later, April 15th, Marley and I took our first walk with others by our side. Minutes into our walk, as we turned down Leona, a dog at 9467, another rental, same landlord, jumped the fence and came at us. A neighbor yelling at the dog, and then the owner came out and grabbed him. Nobody was hurt, but my heart was racing. As of today, this fence still isn't fixed. I don't know how I can feel comfortable at all. There was no urgency to fix the fence, and I'm not understanding why.
I'm sorry, ma'am, I'm sorry, that's 3 minutes. If you have any last comments to make,
Okay,
go ahead.
I feel like I'm a hostage in my own neighborhood with these dangerous dogs. Most of these issues are coming from rentals in our home, and we have plenty in our subs. I'm asking White Lake to consider a fencing ordinance. In both cases, I think it could have helped. I didn't get bit, but a young boy in White Lake wasn't so fortunate a few years ago. I know Waterford has a ban, but if White Lake can consider this too. I would also like to point out there's at least 3 more pit bulls on Danforth. And since this event took place, I've taken self-defense class in my CPL. Thank you for your time. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You did well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Scott, can I make a quick comment?
Sure.
You know, I walk my dog just about every day, and just about every day I walk her, some kind of loose dog comes running up. Haven't been pit bulls, but it's still a scary thing, and I would love for the township to look into some kind of hefty fine for people that just let their dogs run loose like that. So,
Thank you.
thanks, Scott.
Is there any other public comment?
Well, yes, I have another public comment. She asked me to give these away to you.
Thank you.
Let's put these in my pocket.
Oh, there's an extra one.
Good evening. My name is Anne Marie Rogers from Responsible Citizens for Public Safety. We promote public safety through canine awareness, education, and we advocate for victims of dangerous dog attacks. I'm a retired animal control officer and have worked in the animal welfare field for many years. I'm here tonight on behalf of Sarah and Marley. I sent an email to the board earlier today with information on the escalating number of dog maulings and how to prevent them on a municipal level with safety ordinances. I've also given you brochures with information. The facts are that pit bulls are the #1 canine killer of people, pets, and livestock every year, followed by Rottweilers. Over 700 Americans have been killed by pit bull-type dogs. Thousands more have been severely disfigured, dismembered, and disabled in pit bull attacks. Most of these attacks never make the news and are very underreported. But White Lake Township made national news in October of '21 when a 9-year-old was savagely mauled by 2 rescued pit bulls while playing at his friend's house. He suffered a fractured skull, brain swelling, and disfigurement. He's fortunate to have survived the attack. His medical bills were astronomical and are still ongoing. He has years of reconstructive surgeries ahead of him. Lifelong trauma because of someone's pet choice. Sarah has suffered trauma after her dog was attacked, and these vicious attacks are unprovoked. People should not be held hostage in their homes because they fear dangerous dogs could attack them in their neighborhoods. So how can we keep our communities safe from dangerous dog attacks? Breed safety laws. The purpose of a breed-specific ordinance is not to prevent bites, but to prevent maulings. Bites require Band-Aids or a few stitches. Maulings require multiple surgeries and sometimes caskets. All dogs can bite. Most breeds bite and release quickly. Pit bulls don't let go. This behavior is genetic. Unlike other dog breeds, pit bulls have been specifically bred to kill other dogs. They are fighting dogs, not nanny dogs. They don't have to be trained or abused to kill. Now, Waterford has had a ban for over 30 years and hasn't had any serious dog attacks since then. And over 35 other Michigan towns have some form of BSL. We want municipalities to be proactive in their ordinances to prevent attacks on your residents. And Michigan is now free to enact breed safety laws. The pit bull lobby and their preemption bill was defeated in 3 legislative cycles.
Sorry, ma'am, that's 3
Okay,
minutes.
I have one more sentence. The common sense doctrine of local control still stands in Michigan. The government closest to the people should have the authority to keep their residents safe from dangerous dogs. This really is a matter of life and death, and the safety of humans should always come first. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we don't normally make comments, but since Treasurer Roman did, I'll ask Chair if I can make a comment.
Sure.
I take great umbrage to some of the comments that were made today. For instance, I don't think that Mrs. Rogers' email to the board was very truthful. Upon my homework and research, unfortunately, she had a tragic accident with a Rottweiler killing a family member. So it's of her own. So now she's advocating against pit bulls, saying they're deadly dogs, when unfortunately any dog can be deadly. And I just wanted to bring that up, that I don't find her email to have a lot of truth in it, and I take great offense to it. Thank you.
Okay. Any other public comment?
No, it's not a debate, sir.
No? Anyone else? Seeing none?
That gentleman should have the right to make a public comment.
Yeah? Well, if you'd like to.
You got to come up to the
Come on
mic,
out.
Come up
sir,
to the podium.
and state your name
You
and
get your
address.
3
Get
minutes.
3 minutes.
Right.
This typically isn't a debate forum.
Just, I apologize for that, and I do thank you guys for,
Can you state your
Sir.
name and address?
Thomas Bassinet, 99 Danforth, White Lake Township, Michigan. I've been here 38 years on Danforth Street. Not every dog is deadly. Chihuahuas aren't. I've never seen or heard of a situation where a Chihuahua's caused a death. Probably possible, maybe it happened somewhere, but not every dog is deadly. Kind of going off of what Sarah said here earlier, she made a comment about the dogs coming from rentals. We live in a small neighborhood over here off of Elizabeth Lake Road. I'm not sure if anybody's familiar with it. Not sure the total number of houses in that neighborhood, but in my 38 years here, in the last 10 years, the neighborhood has gone down extremely. It's primarily because of more rentals. There's one person that I'm aware of that has between 10 and 15 rentals in that neighborhood, and there's other people who have rentals there. So I think to save White Lake and to keep it improved, I'd recommend looking into some sort of, I'm a free market person, I'm all over people making money and stuff, but you're keeping young families from buying homes in these neighborhoods, from improving those homes, and at the same time, there's no investments going on in these homes. Another one just burnt down because of a bunch of non-compliant things in that house. So I think we need to keep a better eye on the rentals.
Thank you.
I'd just like to make a real quick comment. To that point, we do have a rental ordinance that we just implemented that's spearheaded by our community development director and building official, which is Sean O'Neill and Nick Spencer. So we are taking that serious to improve our neighborhoods and the quality of life in White Lake. And to you, ma'am, I'm sorry that happened. It's tragic. Over the years, as a retired police officer, I went on a lot of dog complaints, not as severe as the one that you spoke about where the boy was mauled, and our police department did a tremendous amount to raise money for that family. So we're willing to listen and take what you said tonight into consideration and try to come up with a solution to the problem. And thank you for coming tonight.
My closing comment, back to the dogs. When I was young and dumb, I had pit bulls, Rottweilers, and German Shepherds. And by far the most dangerous and scariest to me of all those dogs was my pit bull. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Seeing none, we'll move forward. Item number 6, the consent agenda. It's made up of revenues, expenses, check disbursements, list of bills, budget amendments, department reports, police, fire, community development, treasurer report, and appointments to Parks and Rec and Citizens Advisory Council for the CIA. So if anybody has
motion.
anything to comment on the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll support it.
Motion and support, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Oh, I forgot to vote. Aye. Okay, item number 7, the minutes from the regular board meeting of April 11th, 2023. Anybody have anything to comment on the minutes?
Motion to approve minutes from April 11th, 2023.
A motion?
Support and under discussion, the clerk's office took care of a problem that I had, and so everything is great in the minutes as far as I know.
Okay, support by trustee Powell. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, item number 8, we're gonna have a public hearing to hear comment on request by riparian homeowners to have the Michigan Department of Natural Resources conduct an investigation on Bogey Lake regarding establishing a no-wake rule on the entire lake, including the canal and Barrel Avenue, and to limit electric vessels' horsepower to not more than 2 horsepower per foot. So I'll make a motion to open a public hearing.
Support.
I think we want to do a
Roll call.
Roll call
call vote.
Roll call
Yeah,
vote.
okay.
Clerk Noble, yes. Treasurer Roman.
Yes.
Trustee Ruggles.
Yes.
Trustee Smith.
Yes.
Trustee Voorhees.
Yes.
Trustee Powell.
Yes.
Treasurer Roman.
I think I did, yeah.
Did I vote yes?
Yes.
Yes. I lost track of the votes. Okay. We will now open the public hearing at 7:17 PM. If anybody from the public wishes to speak on this agenda item, the public hearing is now open. So I guess we'll let this go on for another minute or a couple seconds, and it doesn't look like anybody's here to speak, so.
Motion to close public hearing?
Motion to close public hearing.
Support.
Motion and support. Do we need a roll call on the closing?
No.
No? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Close at
7:18.
7:18.
Okay,
Under discussion, can we discuss something on that, or?
definitely.
I wish somebody had been here because
Yeah.
in growing up on Union Lake, I grew up next to Detroit drag boats and pontoon boats and hydrofoils and any kind of boat you can imagine. And so I certainly understand why they would like to establish a no-wake speed, at least in portions of the lake. I also represent professionally the village of Wolverine Lake, and so I'm very familiar with the operations in the lake. I do not understand something, however, if it's a no-wake speed and you can control that no-wake, I don't understand what the benefit of limiting the horsepower on an electric motor that typically can't produce a wake anyway, but if it does, it's a no-wake speed. I don't care if it's 1,000 horsepower electric engine, it's a no-wake speed. So I don't understand why an electric motor, which enforcement officer is going to measure the boat and say, oh, that engine's a half horsepower more than what
It's like
what it's
saying-
supposed to be. However, you were creating a wake. That's already implicit in the request. And so I don't understand the delineation of those. So maybe when we get to a point of making a recommendation, maybe we have to understand that a little bit more.
I understand your point. I mean,
Right.
so if somebody had a boat with a 50 horsepower motor, they still can't have a wake. So
Correct.
what's the point of the electric
Right.
horsepowers? Yeah, I don't understand it either.
It's a valid question. Does anyone know the answer? No?
So there was a valid answer when this was before the board several months ago. And to be honest with you, I don't recall what that explanation was sitting here today. To remind you, maybe you know, you already had the public hearing on this item already. And what happens after you pass this is it goes to the state, and the state holds a public hearing. And then they decide whether or not the regulation should be enacted. Then they actually prepare the ordinance, which will then come back to the township. The problem is, at some point, from when it left here, the last time you approved this, to when it got to the state scheduled a public hearing, but nobody was notified. And so nobody appeared, and so it died at the state, which is why you have to do this again. And then, like I said, then it will go to the state.
Can I interject? So we did have a public hearing on this in January 2022. Unfortunately, unexpected issues happened between the clerk's office and the supervisor's office. There was an email where Deputy Supervisor Pergament was on, and as well as me. That email never came across that I could find looking back, and that's what happened. Fortunately, we have a resolution already in place, so after tonight's public hearing, the matter will be expedited as it already completed their investigation. And already we've already approved the formal resolution. I'd like to thank Deputy Supervisor Pergament for staying on it. She did talk to the state about keeping us in the email loop. So this is more of a housekeeping issue. They did have the public hearing. I don't believe anybody showed up, because I remember there were some issues with the first scheduling of it between the boardrooms, and we did have it here. So this will be expedited very quickly, and then the process will take place after how Lisa stated. The state will determine the ordinance, bring it down to us to review and vote on. Correct?
Okay.
Thank you.
That's my understanding of the
Thank you.
process.
So maybe the next public hearing we have and people show up, they might be able to explain what the difference is.
You won't be having another,
2 years from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, maybe the public will come and explain and answer my question.
Correct.
I did just receive a text message from the supervisor that said, state of Michigan regulates all of this, it's not local.
Which is what
Yes.
council had
He
stated.
must be watching us.
Good for him.
Hey, Rick.
Okay, well, we have a resolution in front of us. Somebody wants to,
Like to make the
Motion?
motion. I'd like to make a motion to request by the riparian homeowners to have the Michigan Department of Natural Resources conduct an investigation on Bogey Lake regarding establishing a no-wake rule on the entire lake, including the canal on Barrow Avenue, and to limit electric vessels' horsepowers not more than 2 horsepowers per feet.
Support.
I have motion, I have support by trustee Smith. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No,
No? One opposed? I forgot to vote yes. I'm a yes.
it just an explanation. I think we could have left that last portion off. It just doesn't make any sense to me. So even though the resolution's already made, doesn't mean I have to agree with it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, new business, item 9A, dangerous building show cause hearing and decision, 9090 Buckingham, a garage issue, and I think this is Mr. Spencer's.
Yep, good evening, board. Thank you. Tonight we have 9090 Buckingham. It went before the dangerous building hearing officer back in November of 2022. This garage structure, I don't know if anybody's had a chance to take a look at it in person, but I did provide some photos for you. It's leaning quite badly. There's really no saving this structure. The owner has been notified. He was at, I don't even actually know if he was at the hearing. But he has been notified. He had some specific dates that he had to meet, and one of those dates was for him to demolish the structure on his own, and he has not met that date. So coming before you this evening to enforce the hearing officer's decision.
Before we continue, I received notification that we can't be heard. I just want to check with the audience. Can you hear us?
You can hear us? Our mics are on?
Mary, you can't hear us?
Y'all need to speak up or put your speakers close.
And turn it up?
Okay. Is that better? Is that better?
Yours is off. Maybe that one's on.
Sorry, okay. How about now?
Yeah.
Good? Okay, sorry. Just want to make sure everyone can hear us.
Discussion? Ms. Mike?
So Clerk Noble and I drove out there a few weeks ago and looked at the structure, and I would agree with our building official. There's no saving in it. It needs to come down, period. And if
Okay.
no one has any other comments, I'll make a
Yeah,
motion.
no, I just have a couple questions of Nick. Is the owner present next door, living next to that?
9020, the home is vacant.
Okay,
That
so the
also
White
had-
House next to the 9090.
That is to the left of 99.
Okay,
That house also had a dangerous
yes,
structure on it that was removed by the owner. The house to the right of that is occupied.
okay.
We do get frequent calls about this
But the owner is
property.
not currently living even,
The owner has not lived at that property since at least the tornado,
okay,
because the power has not been functioning at that
that's
structure
what I wanted to hear you say.
since the
Thank
tornado.
you.
Okay. Mr. Powell?
I had a question as well. I understand that this is a hearing regarding the dangerous structure, the garage. But there's another issue as well. The site itself is in shambles, and we actually charge people to mow their lawn. I mean, neighbors get mad because their grass is over 8 inches high. I'd like to maybe have staff let me know why this yard hasn't been noticed and cleaned up and charged the homeowner or the owner of the lot.
So that goes through our code enforcement officer. They have been ticketed, and they have received several letters. I don't want to speak for him, but I imagine the next step is going to court. I don't believe they've gone to court yet, have they, Lisa?
I don't recall
Yeah,
the name.
I don't believe they have, but the next step, I believe, is a court appearance.
Which one?
I imagine that's coming shortly.
So does it need to go to court to clean up a junky yard? Or can we include that in the dangerous building hearing order? Because we're taking the garage down, and we're going to be disturbing that whole area, and there's junk around the barn, or around the garage. Does that mean that we aren't allowed to remove anything else from the site except for the garage?
Yeah, this is a show cause hearing for the garage only.
Yep.
Okay, so we don't have an ordinance that allows us to clean up yards.
You do, but you have to be in the district court. He'll write a ticket and we'll be in the district court. That's how we get a lot of our compliance.
So we can bypass that to cut grass, but we can't bypass that to clean up.
There's a state
Debris.
law that allows you to bypass that if you follow certain procedures.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
All right, motion to proceed as requested by the dangerous building officer and building official, and to award the contract to demolish not to exceed $5,000 without board approval, and to be awarded to the lowest bidder by the township clerk's office.
Support.
I have motion, I have support by trustee Powell. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Okay, item 9B, resolution number 23-015, application to transfer liquor license. Mr. Clerk?
I'll take it. Attached, you'll see a memo from the clerk's office in reference to transaction, a transfer of the liquor license from Brentwood Golf Club Partners LLC to Aranac B Golf Group LLC in conjunction with a Class C SDM license. The company will also have a Sunday sales permit, AM and PM, outdoor service dance permit, and entertainment permit located at 2450 Havenwood Drive, White Lake, Michigan. The application was sent for our review by police and the police department, fire department, and community development director who's in charge of planning. Also, there were no concerns identified. Note This request transfer is under MCL 436.1529, and this is approved by local government, approval is not required by local government. However, a copy of this notice is being provided to local government should they wish to submit an opinion on the application or advise of any local noncompliance issues. So this is more of, for us to take a look at this, make sure that everything's copacetic on it, and they're doing this through the state. There is no issues that we have found.
Okay. Mr. Powell?
I found it very interesting that the gentlemen that are looking to take it over actually are the manager and a supervisor on the course itself. So they're certainly hands-on and they know what they're doing. And so I look forward to them continuing the operation of that golf course.
All right. Mr. Roman, did you have something to say?
I was going to motion, if I could, to approve the request for liquor license transfer by the Wood Golf Group, listed as Resolution 23-015. The township is required to approve this for this event to take place.
And for support?
Support.
I have motion and support by trustee Smith. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Moving along, we're on to item 9C. Resolution 23-012, recognize nonprofit organization, Recovery Mobile Clinic Charitable Gaming License. And is this, Mr. Clerk, you have something to say about this issue, item?
For the resolution recognize nonprofit mobile charitable gaming license. And pull that up.
I did notice they're a 501c3, by the way, so they are certainly recognized by the IRS as a charitable organization.
Couldn't get it. Yeah, I got it. Thank you. Sorry. Yeah, this is a nonprofit operating for the community purpose of obtaining charitable gaming license for their upcoming June 11th fundraiser for Fraternal Order of Eagles in Highland. The request is required by the state to come through White Lake due to nonprofit being registered under the state, Lara, and White Lake. Sorry about that. Couldn't pop it up.
It's all right. Okay, any other discussion on the issue?
If no one else has any comments, I'll make a motion to approve the resolution 23-012, requesting a charitable gaming license for Recovery Mobile Clinic.
I'll support that.
We have motion, we have support by trustee Andrea Voorhees. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Next item, new business, item number 9D, resolution 23-013, declaring Police Week, May 14th to the 20th, 2023. So, we've got a resolution here, and it indicates that this township is going to recognize that this week, May 20th to the 23rd of this year, is Police Week in the Charter Township of White Lake, Michigan. If anybody has anything to add about this.
Just a correction, May 14th through 20th,
Did
2023.
I not say that?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. I would just like to add that this is, I had the honor of bringing this resolution forward to this board in 2019. I believe we were the first municipality in the state of Michigan to pass this resolution. It's now been passed in the legislature this year. And so it's wonderful that we're continuing this resolution annually. We have an absolutely outstanding police department to be so incredibly proud of. And if anyone else has anything else to say, I'd like to make a motion to pass Resolution 23-013.
Yeah, I would just like to say a few things. Every year, that number is going up with officers that were killed in line of duty. Very tragic as the years go on. Retention for police officers and firefighters in this country is very difficult due to the nature of the the organization. But the police, this week is a special time, and I'd like just to take a moment of silence for the police officers that have passed in the line of duty for a moment. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Clerk.
I'll do the support to resolution number 23-013 with Liz.
Can I request a roll call vote, please?
Roll call vote.
Treasurer Roman,
Yes.
Trustee Voorhees,
Yes.
Trustee Powell,
Yes.
Clerk Noble, yes. Trustee Ruggles,
Yes.
and Trustee Smith.
Yes.
Okay, resolution passes unanimous. Next, we have Police Department request for 2023 fleet vehicle replacement, item 9E. Mr. Keller.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for letting me speak. And I appreciate the resolution. It's very nice. The men and women of the police department appreciate it. On March 20th, 2023, we had a patrol vehicle that was involved in an accident. It was traveling on M59 near Bogey Lake Road when a citizen ran the red light and the vehicles ran into each other, causing enough damage to total the vehicle. So, to our dismay, and as you know, it's very hard to find vehicles, especially police vehicles, at this time during the year. We called the 3 Dodges that we usually call, and the only person or the only company that could do it was Zot. They found us a vehicle. At first they said they couldn't. I don't think the other 2 even responded to us. Zot said they couldn't, and somehow he worked his magic, Jeff did, and was able to find us a vehicle at the same price that you as a board had already approved back earlier in the year. So I'm just requesting that we replace this vehicle for the same amount as we had purchased 3 others earlier this year.
Chief, does this amount include any decals or paint that needs to be done, or?
It does not. This is just the vehicle.
The extra gear, does it include?
So much of the stuff or the gear that was already in the vehicle was saved. We may have to buy like a front bumper guard and maybe a light or 2 up front, but that's probably about it.
So if we approve this, should we have an additional amount in here to cover the additional work need to be done on the vehicle?
So it should be covered by insurance.
Okay.
Thank you for asking.
It is covered by the insurance.
Okay.
So we just got notification, so.
So that was the question I had. Obviously, we are able to claim it against our insurance. Will there be any extra out of our pockets for the difference? Like, will we get exactly 40,000?
No, I believe the vehicle was, the vehicle that was crashed, I think it was 26.5 we got for that vehicle.
Okay.
So it's gonna be at our cost to cover the 15,000.
That's what I wanna hear.
But
Okay.
everything else, as far as the transfer over and getting rid of all the stuff out of the old vehicle, will be covered by insurance.
Okay, thank you.
More importantly, how is our driver?
Both are fine. Obviously the seatbelt, the airbags, and the front bumper guard all worked like they were supposed to.
Good.
All right.
Need a motion, somebody.
Looking for a motion?
I'll make a motion.
To replace the 2023 vehicle replacement with the fire department.
Police department?
Yeah, sorry, police department not to exceed $40,003.
Support.
Motion and support by Mr. Powell. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? Moving along.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay. Next item 9F, request by fire department for approval to repair tanker number 3. Bring up the next chief.
Easy one, you guys can just start a motion right now, that'd be good, right?
Are we going too fast tonight?
No, this is awesome.
Is this good?
Good pace, good
Yeah,
pace.
is it?
Yeah. Thank you, Board. What you have before you right now is just a request to repair. This is our oldest truck in our fleet. When Chief Marinucci was here, it was really decided we were going to sell this truck with the other 2 tankers. When I took the seat, I changed my mind. I decided we're going to keep it. It not only acts as a tanker, it can act as a spare engine, which is, we're using it as a spare engine right now. One of our engines is actually being repaired. When we go through the DOT inspections that are required every year, they find stuff. An older truck like this, they're going to find it. Unfortunately, the costs are high right now. Service costs are high, parts are high, and I scheduled this already. It's going to be about 2 months before I can even get the truck in.
Wow. How long has it been since you've used the truck?
We're using a truck right now.
Are you using it now?
Yeah,
With
yeah.
all these?
Nothing would pull it out of service right now that they found. They're just priority repairs that need immediate attention.
Seems like you'd want to have a horn,
Have a horn?
right? Yeah, it says right here, Aaron City horns are inoperable.
Yeah, we have a siren and we have a cue horn on it, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll get somebody's attention with that for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, if you guys, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to entertain them. Otherwise, it's pretty straightforward. And just keep in mind, this is an estimated price. The costs continue to go high. Just as an FYI, we bought our tanker last year. We paid roughly over right at about $500,000 for it. Talking to Rosenbauer a year later, that price has gone up over $120,000 for the same truck. So it's really difficult to forecast repairs, the cost of apparatus right now.
But you have this price locked in.
I do not have this locked in. This is an estimated price. It could be a little bit less, or it could be a little bit more.
What's a little bit more, like how
So,
much?
yeah, let's a little bit more. What would you like us to do?
I'll be honest with you, he really could not give me that. He told me right now, based on his estimate today that I have submitted, these are the prices. It depends on the cost of his technicians, and also for the parts. So it could go up a little bit. And I can't give you that answer, but we're not talking tens of thousands of dollars. But it's going to be, he tells me, Rick from R&R is telling me it's going to be right around here, this price. But that's why I put on here, if you notice at the bottom, estimated price. I couldn't give an exact price.
You say give or take 10%?
He did not say that.
I mean, I just wonder if we're going to make a motion, if we would include
Like,
a variance.
Oh, I got you. I'm sorry, yeah.
we're just trying to figure
We
out
would,
how
we would
much
be
the
safe.
motion
I think that would be safe.
Yeah, 10%.
Same question. I guess I have 2 questions. Number one, I'm just wondering if this board authorizes additional amounts. This is a public record, so the repair shop says, oh, they've authorized more than that, so now my price is this. And so I've got a question on that. And then the tires are not included in this price.
Correct.
And so I didn't know if you needed an amount to replace the tires.
No, the tires, that's a DOT requirement. Every 10 years, the tires have to be replaced. These are the steer tires. Steer tires are a little bit more expensive. We can get those on, there's a bid process through a mitten program, which locks it in for government pricing. I shop around because I can find it cheaper sometimes, and usually it's under $10,000. So it wouldn't need board approval, and R&R, they do not do the tire work. They would have to contract that out. I would rather take care of that myself than just rely on their contractors. And as far as your question, R&R has done us a good business forever. They don't operate like that.
The supervisor's office can issue up to $10,000 as
Yeah,
per
so
our purchase policy.
Maybe we should stick with the estimated price, and
And if we need to go
more,
over.
then it can go to the supervisor's office.
Real quick question, how's the underbody of that truck? It's not rotting, a lot of fire trucks.
It needs treatment.
So what do you mean by treatment?
It means it's gonna need to be cleaned and undercoated. It needs treatment because it is. All Michigan trucks, but that truck's been on the road since 1997.
When's the last time we treated it?
We probably have, I don't know, it probably hasn't been. Since I've been the chief, it hasn't been treated.
Do we have records?
We do, but I don't, to tell you the truth, Clerk Noble, I don't think it's ever been treated by the description what he's recommending here, because now they found it during the inspection. I can't say that for certain going forward, but I can tell you this. I would like, looking at the price of apparatus right now, I would like to try to keep this truck and nurse it along for at least another 3 years. And then after 3 years, we can really take a really good look at it and look at how many responses we're running out of Station 3, so it's not run that much. We can take a good look at it, a good evaluation, and decide if we really need this truck after 3 years and we can get along with one tanker.
I guess where I'm going with it, you said a new truck would be how much, 130? Or how much, 230? I didn't hear that part.
A new truck?
Yeah, like a pumper truck. we're to buy one?
A new tanker, it's gonna be over $600,000.
All right,
And that's right now.
Okay.
And it's difficult right now to even get locked in pricing because it continues to go up. And again, this truck, you know what, I would like to keep it. We were gonna sell it like for another, if I can get 3 more years out of it, then we'll evaluate if we're gonna hang on to it or if we really even need that tanker up there. We look at the responses on that.
I gotta figure the cost to buy a used tanker like that is going up and up and up. So I think you're gonna get your money back anyway.
I think so too. Or Board, if I didn't, I certainly wouldn't bring this to you. I took a lot of time to look at this. When he initially did the inspection on it, and it was a decision, you know, because initially we had talked about selling the truck, and then I thought, you know what, we own this truck already. And I think it's worth the money to put into it, keep it for 3 to 5 more years to serve the community.
we need a minimum of 2 tanker trucks, correct or no?
No, we don't. We need 1. It's nice to have 2 up there, but with our MABA system, our mutual aid agreements now that's enacted throughout the state of Michigan, our mutual aid is spot on. We have box alarm cards, so if we have a fire in an area, excuse me, I didn't think I'd get through this without coughing. We have a fire in a certain area, we have a card that's set up through that. We can call dispatch on the way, we can tell them to go to a certain alarm, all the information's right there, who they have to call, and we get immediate response. We didn't have that years back. So, and then we look at the ISO ratings for certain trucks. ISO is based on point system, not just on the tanker, and what's really saved us is our infrastructure now, the improvement with the water, with the hydrants throughout the community. So, I can't say it's not gonna ding us totally, but I think at this point, I think it's worth keeping it, and then we'll reevaluate it.
Okay.
Is there some government agency that dictates service life on these types of vehicles, like ladder
There's
trucks?
NFPA recommendations.
Really?
Yeah.
There's nothing that says that on a ladder truck after 20 years it's done?
No.
No?
No.
Nothing like that? Okay.
Nothing to my knowledge. Let me restate that, yeah.
Okay.
NFPA would recommend, I believe it's a life pattern of a engine like 10 years, but we're gonna get way more out of 10 years than that. The truck doesn't run that much, so.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, if we're ready, I move that we authorize the fire department to repair the 1997 Pure Stash tanker for a price not to exceed $26,000.
Okay, we have a
Support.
motion. Support by trustee Smith.
Roll call.
Roll call vote?
Clerk Noble, yes. Trustee Ruggles.
Yes.
Trustee Smith.
Yes.
Trustee Voorhees.
Yes.
Trustee Powell.
Yes.
And Treasurer Roman.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes.
Thank you.
All right.
Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
On to the next item, item 9G, resolution number 23-014, White Lake Township interested in participating with the Community Development Block Grant, or commonly known as CDBG, for the fiscal years 2024 to 2026. And I have Treasurer Roman?
Yeah, so this resolution is simply telling the county we're interested in participating. It's not actually designating dollars, but in order to get those dollars in future years, this kind of triggers that process. So again, just a resolution showing interest.
Okay. This is actually one of my favorite programs the township participates in. Helps a lot of people every year,
Great,
so.
great program.
Any other comments?
I'll put that in form of a motion to approve resolution 23-014.
Support.
Support by Andrea Voorhees. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. We are participating again. Okay, item 9H, request to auction Aspen Meadows generator. In accordance with White Lake Township Administrative Policies and Procedures 4.5D, disposal of fixed assets. And so I think this is a Mr. Potter issue.
Yes, it is. Thank you, Trustee Ruggles. So our new generator at Aspen Meadows finally showed up about a month ago. 8 months behind schedule, but it's here now and installed. And so we have pulled the old Kohler generator out of the building, which is now being refitted to become the phosphate and air compressor rooms in the plant remediation. So in reviewing our project plan for this, we never actually identified in the project plan that the intention was to sell the old generator and use those funds to offset some of the cost of the new building. So it was determined that the correct move would be coming here tonight. The generator, a little bit about it, it's a 400 amp, 480 volt three-phase generator. It does operate on a diesel fuel tank. The generator was installed inside the well house, the existing well house. And the fuel tank is a 600-gallon fuel tank that was basically in a secondary enclosure. As the generator has been there since the original plant construction, it is over 20 years old. Would not be best practice to repurpose that generator for any other critical facility. So we are asking the board to approve the auction of the old generator through the township clerk's office in accordance with the township policy.
How many, I see a 400 amp, 480 volt. How many KW would that be?
It's like 250 kW.
250?
Yeah, it's huge.
I just bought an RV and it needs a generator, so I should probably buy that thing.
Oh,
right?
we got
It's
you.
as big as your RV, you know?
You'll need another RV to haul it.
Exactly right.
What do you think its value is?
I recommended to the clerk's office that we put 8,000 as a reserve. Ultimately, on something used, its value is what somebody's willing to pay for it. So we may get 8,000, we may have to, we might have to revisit that, who knows?
And the clerk's office will handle this, Mr. Clerk?
Correct.
Yeah?
So we'll have a bidding, the township policies, any fixed assets over 5,000 would have to come before the board, and then we ship it to the supervisor's office, and then we would auction it. Director Potter's felt that the cost or the resale would be right around 8,000 is what you said, correct?
Just ballparking on other ones that I found online that were similar. They ranged anywhere from, 10 to 14,000, but most of those were eBay or, some other kind of sites. It's real hard to say. I didn't find any that were an exact model. I didn't find any that were an exact model to the one we have. We also do have the transfer switch and the fuel tank, even though the fuel tank for certain kinds of processes wouldn't meet current code, so we'd probably need to do some upgrading. I also looked at retrofitting this generator onto a trailer, but that would also include a fuel tank and some type of sound attenuating enclosure. And
Can you get closer to the microphone?
Yes, sorry about that. This is as far as this will stretch, but I did the same research when we sold the Village Acres generator at auction, and it came out to be almost close to a $25K, $30K investment to try to retrofit that to a mobile.
Okay.
So again, for something that's well over 20 years old, I mean, the paperwork on the generator, which we do have, says 1999. The plant wasn't put online until 2001, I believe. We got all the closeout documentations and most of the generator paperwork in 2002. So it's hard to say exactly when they started it up, but it's well over 20 years old, so.
Mr.
Where do you
Roman.
advertise something like this? Facebook Marketplace? I'm joking, but like seriously, where do you?
No, it would go on to municipal
Okay.
auction.
There's several sites that we can list it on that he's done in the past, along with the police vehicles too.
Oh, okay.
Other fixed assets within the township, and we've had good results auctioning some of the equipment that we weren't using in the garage when our maintenance person was cleaning it and finding stuff that needed to be sold or restored, brought back to life. So we've done a good job auctioning off and getting the money that we need to get out of that equipment.
We might be surprised, actually. I have a similar generator, but it's only a 50 kW. And I paid a lot more than 8 for it, so, I mean, things are going up.
I think we sold the Village Acres generator, which was a natural gas generator, and it was in a lot worse condition than this one. This generator was in its own separate enclosed room, so it wasn't exposed to chlorine fumes or moisture from the rest of the plant. It's in very good condition. It was treated nice and well-maintained, so.
How many hours are on it?
Do not have that information with me. I did have photos. If you give me just 1 second, I can probably get you that.
It's over 20 years old, so.
Not as many hours as you would think. If I can figure out how to mark my phone. I did send quite a few of these photos over to the clerk's department, and I apologize, they did not make my board memo. Generator hours, 1,225 hours.
1,200? Yeah.
So.
That's low. Yeah.
Pretty low hours considering our portable that we just purchased has 4,000, so.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Potter. Any comments, Mr.
I'd like to
Treasurer?
make a motion to go ahead and have our clerk's department auction off this Kohler generator with an $8,000 reserve price and to accept the highest bid.
Second.
Motion, support by Mr. Noble. All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, we'll be selling the generator. Next item 9I, request to consider a new elevator maintenance contract for Annex. And Mr. Potter again?
Yes, sir. So our current elevator contract is set to expire in August. We have 90 days to notify them in writing of our intention to change vendors. We did go out to request for quotes from several companies. You should have a spreadsheet in front of you. The quotes kind of came back all over the place, so we did some calculating to kind of standardize these. Some of the quotes included the quarterly testing and the annual testing, as well as what they call the Category 3 test. Some didn't. So what I've done with these is spread this out over 3 years, which would include all of those required tests. Ranked them by total cost of the 3 years, including all of the required tests. Lardner Elevator Company was the lowest bid, requesting the Township Board approve service agreement with Lardner Elevator Company pending attorney review. I got the contract today, so I haven't reviewed that yet. And I would also request that the Township Supervisor or the Deputy Township Supervisor be authorized to execute the agreement when Lisa is comfortable with it.
Okay.
Mr. Ruggles?
Mr. Powell?
Trustee Ruggles, I move that we approve the service agreement with the lowest bidder, Lardner Elevator Company, pending review of the township attorney and authorizing the supervisor and any other authorized co-signature to execute the agreement when ready.
I want to just say something before. Yeah, it's
Under
required.
discussion? How about a second
Yeah.
first and then discussion?
I'll second.
Second, Mr. Roman, okay?
Yeah, it's just
Discussion?
one thing that was not mentioned, it's required by the state to come in and inspect it. And therefore, that's why it's very important that we have this in place. So that was it.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Clerk Noble.
Great. Any other comments?
No, so just to clarify your motion, you're gonna have supervisor, office, sign, and/or treasurer or clerk would be
The
the.
supervisor or any other authorized signator
Okay.
available.
Okay.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay, we have motion and we have support by Mr. Roman. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None? Motion passes. Okay, next item. Discussion regarding listing and sale of surplus property, parcel number 12-24-380-004 and parcel 1209-476-005. And I'm going to let the treasurer discuss this.
Thank you,
item.
trustee Ruggles. So, parcel A, we actually listed 7 years ago through a real estate agent, and at the time, it did not sell. We've kind of looked at the lot again. It's located in the Huron-Dale, it's on Huron-Dale Drive in the Riverdale subdivision. And it's a pretty good sized lot, and I know we had I think it was a resident come in, Mr. Heber, and express some interest on this lot. If you want to kind of share what had happened.
Thank you. Actually, Jacob, a citizen, he's actually here. He came to the counter and was looking, and I want to speak for him. He was looking at a lot that was for sale next to the property we own, and was inquiring what White Lake, he was the owner, and what our intentions were. So I came down to see you, and we talked with Sean, and then decided that, the discussion with the board would be appropriate. I told Jacob that it's an open process of how, if the township's gonna sell property or do something with it, he's welcome to come and listen, and he took us up on it, so.
So with that, I had Steve Stockton go out and look at the property. He actually walked the property and requested that the township pay for a perk test. He said he can get it done for a cost not to exceed $400. And then depending on the perk test, he would actually list the property for us. He estimated, as long as the perk test came back favorable, price of roughly $49,000 to list it at.
What did he say if it doesn't perk?
He didn't.
No?
He didn't, and if it doesn't perk, I can get that info from him. I can either come back to the board or, it's up for discussion, so.
I would like to step in on this one, and quite frankly, the next one, and I meant to call the Community Development Director on the next one. I would very much like to be present when that perk test is done. I think that the township should take advantage of it being designated as a buildable lot instead of just a parkland. It'd be different if the adjacent neighbor wanted to buy it and just add it to his property. But I believe the township ought to sell it for as much as the township can as a buildable lot. So I'd like to be present when the perk test is done, and then offer my services to engineer the septic system if necessary. The parcel's worth a great deal more if you've got an approved perk in your hand to show that it's a buildable lot than just a site that doesn't perk. And so I have no problem with the motion being made, but I believe it, quite frankly, could be postponed or tabled till the next meeting.
Just get the perk test done
Just get the
first.
perk test done, let's evaluate what it should be put on the market as.
I think that's an excellent idea.
I agree.
Yeah. How do we decide who's going to perform the perk test? I know some people. I'm sure Mr. Powell's got some
Yeah,
recommendations.
Mike, do you want to recommend something?
$400 is not a bad price. You have to dig 3 holes typically. And so that's not a bad $350, $400 is a fairly normal price.
How about if I have Steve Stockton contact you?
I'd be more than happy to.
The board good with that?
him on that.
Yeah. All right, can I make a motion on this parcel
Excuse me,
first?
Mr.
Go ahead.
Rue. Jacob, the citizen, just asked me if it was okay if he spoke, so I'll defer to you on that.
Sure, yeah, more than happy.
Hi, my name is Jacob Denverno. I'm at 6290 Meadow Green, actually in Waterford. The property that's to the right of it had a perk test done last year, and it failed. So what I planned on doing was building on that lot, but when it failed, I don't have the room to build an engineered septic. So I came to Dave to ask him if I could buy some of the property next to it to have more space. And he said, well, the whole thing's as a whole lot, but I think that's the reason why it's sitting so long. That's an established subdivision. The houses were built in the 70s and 80s. Those are the only lots that aren't built, and there's 3 other ones on the other side. And the ground there is just too wet, the land, so we would actually have to bring in a lot of dirt. So I've talked to people about it, and he said the only way you're gonna be able to even build on that site, one, it's too small, you'd have to get a variance because of the size of it, and I would need a lot next to it. And that's why I came to the city to find out if it could be purchased, because I would need it. You need the well so far. The well that is next to it, the house to the right, actually has a regular septic, but the well can't be within so many feet of that. And so an engineered septic would have to be put in, and there's just not enough room in that spot to put all that in without having the land next to it. So that's why I'm asking you to consider selling it so that I could use it to possibly, or someone could use it to possibly build a house that could have enough space to put the proper things in place to even use the land.
Your impression is exactly correct. It is our responsibility, however, to obtain the best price we can for the assets that the township has. So it will be on the market. We're not going to build a home on it, but we need to decide and find out whether or not an engineered septic system is required and how much that might cost, and that will then help set the market value for that lot.
Okay, thank you.
Exactly
Appreciate
right.
your time.
Thanks. Mr., do you have something to say, Dave?
I'll wait for your motion then.
Oh, so I'm going to motion on that.
Before you motion, I just I want to back up just a minute. I have no problem with Mr. Powell being there or supervising, but I want to check with council. I don't believe this board can direct work to Mr. Powell.
I don't think that was his
No,
intention.
he just wants to be there.
Yeah, he
Just want to be there. I just want to clarify that we weren't
Yes.
directing work to him.
Thank you.
He just
That
is
is correct.
observing.
Yes.
Okay. Motion?
Motion then to have a real estate agent contact Mr. Powell and come up with a company to do that perk test, not to exceed $400.
Okay.
Provide the board with a value?
What's that?
And provide the board with a value or not yet?
No, I don't think yet.
No, I don't think it's proper yet.
We can come back with
Right.
that.
So this is just for the first property, correct? For the
That's
Huron
correct.
Dale
Just to
Drive.
Huron
Okay.
Dale.
We'll do them separately, Andrea. We'll do a motion for this one, and then
Okay,
we'll,
that's what I wanted to hear.
Right.
Okay.
so, motion, looking for support?
Support.
Support by Mr. Clerk. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Okay, now we'll take a look at the second parcel. Mr. Roman again.
So, yeah, the second is the piece on Hitchcock Road between Porter and Haley Road. It's zoned ag. It's roughly 20 acres in size. This was acquired back in 2017 from Oakland County. We ended up paying just over $4,000 for it. At this point in time, as your treasurer, I am looking at all of our properties with the thought that if we don't have a plan in mind and we can get good money for these properties, let's put them on the market, try to sell them and use them towards the costs of our new buildings. I again had Steve Stockton walk these properties on Hitchcock Road. It's actually one parcel right now, roughly 20 acres. He thought as a 20-acre parcel, he would recommend listing it at around $250. But if we split these right down the middle, lengthwise, he would recommend we list them for approximately $149,000 each. Questions, concerns?
I have a couple of questions. First of all, I asked Sean whether or not he's looked at this site. And I'm going to suggest that a typical speculator or developer would look at this parcel. It's zoned ag right now. He would do the research and find out whether or not the master plan calls out for it to be something other than ag. Because at ag, it is worth so much, but as a residential site, it's going to be worth a great deal more. So while we still have ownership of it and control, we ought to find out what's the highest and best use of this piece based upon the master plan. And either split it or rezone it or both to obtain the best price we can for this piece. So I think it's a little premature right now, depending on what Sean tells us, to split this. And I'm just looking at it very quickly. We have an ordinance that says that you can't split a piece of property with a width to depth ratio greater than 4:1, and this looks like it's going to exceed that. So that means the township board would have to go to the ZBA in order to get a variance from that portion of the zoning
Dave
ordinance.
said we don't have to.
We don't? Yes, so maybe Dave knows the answer to that, and then Sean can chime in as well.
Well, I think Sean knows the answer to the first one. I believe that the township is not bound by its own ordinance, so you could theoretically do the split without following your own ordinance.
That is correct.
Does it currently provide the length and
Barely
width
exceeds
for
it,
a
but
division
you're
of that
right.
nature?
I'm sorry, your question again?
Does it currently provide enough road frontage, enough length and width to give a split into 2/10?
There's enough road frontage to not violate that, but if you split it straight in half, you'd certainly violate the 4:1.
The 4:1, okay.
I have just one comment, and I don't think it is, but this isn't the property you were thinking of, Mr. Roman, that we asked Parks and Rec to consider for the dog park?
It's the same property.
It is.
This
Same
is the Kelly,
property.
the old Frosty Pines tree, Mr. Kelly. Yeah,
Right, that's what I was thinking is we did stick that, well, we made reference to this particular piece of property for the Parks and Rec plan.
Yeah, I had even thought, and I guess the vibes I got back were that it's not an ideal location for a dog park. There's no utilities over there. Dirt roads kind of up, just kind of too far off the beaten path.
and 20 acres for a dog park?
Well, no, we wouldn't need all of it, but
Isn't the minimum 5?
Pardon me?
Don't you need 5
what
minimum?
other areas
say
do
yes,
we,
sounds
because so
right.
we instructed the Parks and Rec to consider that in the next 5 years. So if we take this property away, what other, say, 5-acre area do we have that they can explore for that use?
Or if you're asking me, I would say potentially the park behind us. I mean, when we build the new township hall, we'll be leaving this property. I don't look at the back acreage as being really viable for much. It's a really odd configuration, and I think probably all the neighbors would appreciate leaving it open. That's a possibility. Maybe the Parks Group would have a better answer than that, but I think that Mike's probably onto something. It's really not near where most people would want to
Not centrally
Yep, I
located.
agree.
go, right?
It's dirt roads, which a lot of the city slickers that have the dog parks, that want the dog parks aren't gonna go on. So, and the Parks and Rec is on the liaison, has generally made, or has made the statement that we are against the dog parks.
Really?
Yeah, but
Still?
that,
We had this conversation about a year ago. I mean, I wasn't one of them, but a lot of my Parks and Rec friends did their homework. They called their vets and they were adamantly, I'm not saying things can't change, but adamantly
So-
against them.
we had this discussion and they're recommending body only, and this board instructed them otherwise. So we're kind of done with that conversation, because this board gave instruction.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I guess at a point, this board just makes the decision.
Right.
Regardless of the input. If you don't agree with it, then you could certainly move in a different direction. That's definitely your right. As far as the question you asked, Mr. Powell, regarding, the future land use, I would think it would be, 2-acre zoning or SF, suburban farm zoning, would probably be the ultimate if someone was to come in and purchase it
that would be fitting, given the future land use designation and the use of the surrounding properties and the fact that there aren't utilities available. You know, the property is, the gross acreage of this property is 19.64 acres, but just in looking at an aerial, it appears that a couple of acres at the far north end certainly appear to be potentially wetland. If you look kind of at the screen,
Yes.
This area here appears to be darker and is probably wetland, so I don't know what percentage that would represent, but certainly a couple of those acres. So, you know, there is the width to depth question, but, you know, and we had talked at the, you know, staff level, you know, that certainly someone could come in, even if we did a division, purchase both of them, put a private road in, and divide this property up after rezoning it to SF. But the net acreage must be 2 acres. So they would be looking at maybe 2.2, 2.3 acres of gross area in order to net out with a private road requirement, a lot of that size. And you're looking at maybe 5 or 6 best case. And that would actually only be if Dave can establish that many splits are available on a property of this size. So I don't know that development would go more than a you know, there'd be more than maybe a handful that that someone could maybe develop with the installation of a private road.
Yeah, but a 2-acre parcel is going for $150,000 now anyway. So I'm going to suggest that this be held off and postponed, that this board apply to have it rezoned to suburban farms, because a developer will come in and put a road down the center and split that property up. Even if it was split, a site condominium would be very simple. 2 acres site condominium would be very simple. And that would net the township a great deal more money than just splitting the property or selling it as is.
Yep, 'cause that's the handwriting on the wall, absolutely.
Right.
I mean, I saw this, I'm like, I knew exactly it wasn't suburban farms, 5 to 10
Right.
parcels. That's as far as I read into it.
And I'm gonna suggest that this board might think about, and I've talked to the supervisor about this as well, to have to incorporate road area into a 2-acre parcel is exorbitant. It's different if you have an R1D lot which is 12,000 square feet. You certainly don't want an easement for a road, removing any property out or using any property out of a 12,000 square foot lot. But a 2-acre parcel is a very large parcel of property, and to require the road to be excluded from the 2-acre net is probably something that this board should look at and modify it in suburban farms. That being said, though, I think it's premature for us to sell this at this time, and it only takes 60, 90 days to change the zoning, and that'll net the township a great deal more money than selling it as is.
You think we should wait and rezone?
That's my recommendation.
So what you're saying is rezone and then you get more density in there?
Rezone so the potential buyer knows what his net value could be on it.
Which would be greater if we rezone.
Substantially greater than
Which
what's
would
been
bring
talked about.
more value to when we
Correct.
sell it.
Correct.
How long would that take, Director O'Neill?
I think in 90 days or less that could be accomplished.
Okay.
If that's the direction that you give.
So we could bring this back later in the summer.
Sure.
Just wait.
Yeah.
Trustee Powell could make a motion to begin the rezoning process.
That would be a great idea. So I move then that we authorize the township to apply for the rezoning from ag to suburban farms for parcel ID number 1209476005, and to expedite the rezoning of this parcel.
Support.
I had a question.
I support that.
Support by Ruggles. Trustee.
I just had a question for Dave Heber. As far as the number of splits, Dave, that could take place on this, Does this motion make sense?
Yeah, the motion does make sense. I'd have to go back and look at when the last time it was split from 1997 and figure out how many splits were left with this.
Which one was the parent parcel
Yeah,
originally?
exactly. And
And the state law allows extra parcel, extra split if you're putting a private road in. So there's a number of issues that Dave has to review.
whether there's bonus splits available or not, so it won't take long.
No,
but
that's correct.
And then I'll confer with Sean as well to see what what might be doable in a site condo if that's what
Yeah,
you're looking
and
at.
best case scenario, you eliminate the parcel split requirement by doing a site condominium, and then you maximize the splits that you use, the lots available.
So your suggestion is to not split it, where you'd have actually a road going up the middle. Sell it as a
It's
20
really
acre.
dependent on what comes of the evaluation of the splits. If the splits come out short, the illegal splits come out short from what you could get as a site condominium in the same zoning, then the extra split would more than pay for the private road going in, and so you'd still come out ahead. So a developer would do that to pay for the private road. So Mr. Ebert would be able to tell this board the pros and cons of taking the splits or waiting and selling it as a full parcel but zoned suburban farms. We do not want to be in the development business.
No.
So we don't want to put the private road in. We don't want to create a site condominium, but we want to make it as valuable to an outside person as we can.
Exactly right. Okay. Any further discussion? We have motion, we have support. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Okay.
Thank you,
motion
David.
Passes.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we're moving on to item 9K. Just as quickly as I became chair, I have to stop. I have a conflict of interest on the next agenda item, so I'm going to ask the board to allow me to recuse myself from this item.
So we need a roll call vote for that, I think.
Roll call voting.
Yeah, we'll have to roll
Roll
call
call
that
vote.
and then vote on it. Like to make a motion to excuse trustee Ruggles for the next item agenda, which is going to be request for parcel number 12-05-200-034 Farmland and Open Space Preservation Program. Like a roll call. Clerk Noble, yes. Treasurer.
Was there support for that?
Oh, sorry.
Support.
Good call. Support. Clerk Noble, yes. Trustee Powell.
Yes.
Trustee Voorhees.
Yes.
Treasurer Roman.
Yes.
Trustee Smith.
Yes.
Do I need to leave the room, or do I?
Did you vote?
Can't.
No, he votes.
I vote on this?
Sure.
Does he?
Yes.
He's a board member, he votes, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't think you
I
need to
don't think
leave
he's
the room.
supposed.
Because you need to
Whatever
leave
the
the
board
room.
wants.
What is it?
I don't think it needs to.
I think you're
We
good.
haven't in the past.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a motion, well, it's an application for the Farmland and Open Space Preservation Program for the property off White Lake Road, if I understand correctly. We gave the same thing to the Ruggles Farm on McKeechee, and what it does is it guarantees us that that this land will be farmed for a certain amount of time, and then in exchange, the property owners, in this case, Mr. Ruggles, would get a tax break. It's nothing that comes out of our pocket. It doesn't short us in any way. These are other state taxes that somehow get abated back to the Ruggles family.
Can I say something?
Speak.
Also that is a preservation of 75 acres for the next 10 years that we will not be developing. Second part to that is our farmers across America are being hurt very badly because of the economy, diesel fuel help, so they're struggling. So for us, medium to small size business, I'm in support of this because we're helping them, giving them that economic relief to be successful in our township, plus the preservation of the land for the next 10 years of not developing on that land in our north end of town.
So I'm going to make a political statement here, so everybody will know where I stand, but in this country right now. We have other countries and billionaires buying up farmland that I think is inappropriate. We have windmills going up everywhere that I think are inappropriate. And so I am a major fan of approving this to keep it in agricultural state and an active farm.
Anyone else?
My comments ditto everyone else's. Let's keep these open spaces in White Lake, absolutely. Especially on the north side where I live, I'll be honest with you, everyone.
Anyone?
Especially if we can put a dog park on the corner of that property.
Hey there, now we're talking.
So that being said, I'd like to make a motion to approve PA 116 application request for parcel number 12-05-200-034 Farmland and Open Spaces Preservation Program for Mr. Fred Ruggles.
We have motion, do we have support?
Major support.
We have support.
I'd like
Do we
to
need a roll call
I'd like
vote?
a call, roll call.
Roll call vote, please.
Clerk Noble, yes. Trustee Smith,
Yes.
Treasurer Roman,
Yes.
Trustee Powell,
Yes.
and Trustee Voorhees.
Yes.
Okay. Great,
Yeah, that's right.
I'm back. Thank you very much. Moving on to item 9L, request to consider amendments to corridor improvement bylaws. Mr. O'Neill.
Thank you, sir. Before you tonight, Board, are the bylaws that were approved by the Corridor Improvement Authority on May 4th after some revisions. It's now in front of you for your approval before they become effective. These bylaws were drafted to, I guess they were tailored to meet the configuration of the current Corridor Improvement Authority, and action that you'll hopefully take during old business will then make a final change to the ordinance that was put in effect back in 2006 that, at least for the next few minutes, will be in conflict with these bylaws because the membership numbers are a little different. So the bylaws that you have in front of you, again, make very clear what the roles and responsibilities are. I know there was some question regarding, the Corridor Improvement Authority's actual authority and their roles, and I think it makes it quite clear. Again, they were very comfortable with all the red line changes, and you have both a clean and red line version, so you can kind of reference, where we started and kind of see where they ended up. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Otherwise, they are ready for your consideration.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion on this by the board? No?
Well, just that I'm gonna trust the experts working on it. It's such a detailed entity and it's kind of removed from us all.
Right.
So I'll just make a motion to approve the amendment to the CIA bylaws
As presented?
as presented.
And I'll just tack on to your comment, Mr. Roman, that, just to remind the public that Mr. O'Neill is staffing these meetings. So we do have supervision and we have communication and expertise, so.
Thanks, Trustee Smith.
I'll support that, but I'd also like to ask, maybe Sean, is there any plan to have the Corridor Improvement Authority provide us with updates, kind of a continual report back to this board, much like the Development Committee is doing, so that we can understand what's happening in that group?
Yes, so your liaison is the township supervisor.
Okay.
And so, I know there is a liaison report on, at the Planning Commission, at the Zoning Board of Appeals, and maybe this isn't the time to discuss it, but perhaps there needs to be a liaison opportunity for all of you. Several of you liaise to various boards and commissions, and perhaps as incorporated into your trustee comments, there could be an opportunity to report back just kind of regularly. But to your question, when they put plans together, when they put, projects forward, those are all recommendations that will come to you. So they'll be communicating through our office to you on, as the Planning Commission does in many cases, when they're trying to take some action or recommend some action. But certainly, I would think it would be appropriate for our department to incorporate in our monthly report kind of some of the goings-on at the Corridor Improvement Authority level, as we have for the ZBA and for Parks Committee and the Planning Commission as well. So we'll definitely be in contact.
That would be
yes.
greatly appreciated.
Yeah.
And then in Mr. and Supervisor Cobal's absence, could you kind of be the liaison and just give us a little bit more information?
Absolutely. I mean, just right now where we stand timeline-wise is that on June 1st, we anticipate having the draft TIF plan, which is the plan that we'll submit for review to the county and to the other taxing entities for their concurrence. So it's going to have lists of projects. So think about the capital improvements plan that you approve or accept from the Planning Commission every year that lists all the projects township-wide, whether it's a purchase of a new fire truck, the construction of a new public safety building, the extension of a water or sewer main. All those projects are collected and I guess memorialized in that document. Many of the projects almost all the projects that you'll see in this plan are pulled directly from the capital improvements plan. There are items like signage or marketing or maybe streetscape type stuff that isn't necessarily in the CIP, but you'll be very familiar with some of the projects. As you may recall, the district is really the M59 corridor, and the projects that are in the CIP span the entire township. So it'll be the district's projects pulled from the CIP. Aaron's been involved and has been very helpful in trying to kind of describe out to Carlisle Wortman some of the specifics with the utility projects in the corridor. Justin's been involved with any park projects, and then obviously the Civic Center stuff that we've got going on just down the road, we're all familiar with, so that was maybe an easier conversation. But we anticipate that the plan will be ready in draft form in June. One of the things that you did earlier tonight was seat a Citizens Advisory Council, which is required for DDAs and corridor improvement authorities. When the plan is ready to move to the next level for review, that Citizens Advisory Council will attend that meeting. So it will be really in effect for 1 or 2 meetings, and they'll sit with the Corridor Improvement Authority and provide them feedback. That group is very specifically required to be residents of the district. They don't have to be property owners, they have to be residents. Just a little bit of information on that. We kind of cast as big of a net as we could and emailed 87 letters out to all the properties that had residents living in them, including mobile home parks and apartment complexes, to the manager's office so it could be shared. We received 10 interested individuals who had replied. You appointed 6 of them tonight. 3 of them did not qualify for some reason, though they responded. And then 1 just hasn't been able to be reached by the supervisor who's tried contacting that individual on multiple occasions. So that board or that group will sit with the Corridor Improvement Authority board to kind of review that plan before it is, I don't want to say finalized because it's not finalized until you approve it, but kind of gives their feedback to the Corridor Improvement Authority. That's
How many did you might have already stated this, but how many letters did you put out to?
87 letters. The states
have returned.
We heard from 10 people.
Okay.
Only 7 were qualified and only 6 had responded.
In the consent agenda.
Okay.
And so the state would like us to have 9, attempt to get 9. Again, we had 10, but only 7 could serve and meet the criteria. But we made sure that we, again, tried to make a good effort, because I think that was part of the requirement, is that we're actually trying to, we didn't just say, well, we couldn't find anybody. We mailed letters, we have an affidavit of mailing, we're kind of building a file, so if it's ever challenged, we're in good order, we can prove that we did try. So they're working very hard. I think everyone on the Corridor Improvement Authority, with the exception of the supervisor, is new to a board or commission. And so there's quite a learning curve. There's a learning curve for all of us, because the township's never had an active Corridor Improvement Authority. And so it's been interesting. I think we've all learned a bit. And Dick Carlisle, who is kind of our professional assisting us through this process, has been very helpful, and his knowledge has been shared repeatedly with this group, and I think they're really starting to get their legs underneath them. So I'm looking forward to the next several weeks of kind of vetting the plan a bit and getting it ready for the next step. But the goal, just so you know, is to have it complete by December. So we will capture this year's increment.
Yeah, that's
I
awesome.
shouldn't say increment, but we'll start capturing that based on the 2023 baseline.
All right, thanks for the update.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Great.
Sure.
So, item number L, we have a motion from Treasurer Roman, we have support from Mr. Powell.
Yes.
Roll call vote? Roll call vote, please.
Clerk Noble, yes. Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Trustee Ruggles?
Yes.
Treasurer Roman?
Yes.
Trustee Voorhees?
Yes.
And Trustee Powell?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes.
Excellent.
Great. Okay, and moving on to old business. Item number 10A, request to sorry.
Excuse me. Oh,
We had one more.
I think we added on
OPEB.
9M. Did we
Yes,
add
we
on
did.
9M or did we not?
Yes, we did at the
Did we
beginning.
add it on?
No,
No, we didn't.
I thought we did.
we didn't.
I don't think we made an amendment to the
We didn't make an
agenda.
amendment.
We didn't. Well, is it too late to add it on, Lisa?
Actually, we don't have a full board.
To add an item? That's just for special board meetings. So
Oh, it
you can,
is?
yeah.
Oh, okay, all right, good.
I don't know why you couldn't add it on now.
I think
Would you
we
like to
should.
want to make a motion to add it to the agenda?
So what?
Approve the agenda in the beginning. I would have a motion approving the agenda in the beginning.
Well, good. Let's do it now.
Well, there you go,
Let's
Mr.
approve
Chair.
it, yes.
Can I make a motion to add on 9M as the 2023 OPEB, that's OPEB contribution, and also to approve the agenda as amended?
Support.
So this will be 9M.
9M.
Okay.
We have
We have motion.
support.
I'll
We have
second.
support. We already had support.
Already did?
Mr.
I think you have
Sorry.
to have a roll call.
Roll call.
Roll call vote?
Trustee Voorhees?
Yes.
Trustee Ruggles?
Yes.
Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Clerk Noble, yes. Treasurer Roman?
Yes.
And Trustee Powell?
Yes.
Geez, how do we miss the approval of the agenda?
I hope Kowal's
We
not
missed the
watching.
approval of the
I guess
agenda.
I missed it. Moving along. Item 9M.
Okay, so we do this every year. It's our contribution to the employee retiree healthcare plan. In 2022, the board did budget for this, as shown here. It's a little bit less than in years past, but it's still a very nice contribution to the plan. And I guess I will make a motion to approve going ahead and making the OPEB contribution.
Okay.
I think for the public benefit, can you label the amount? Did you state the amount?
So in total, $655,000, broken up as general fund, $135,000, fire fund, $150,000, police fund, $250,000, building department, $50,000, and the water department, $70,000.
I'll support that.
Treasurer Roman, didn't you cut that in half from
The
before?
general fund was cut in half.
Yeah, that's what I
Yeah,
thought.
that was Supervisor Kowal's thought, just because we've got so many building costs coming up. But again, still a nice contribution.
Definitely. Okay, we have motion, we have support. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? None. Okay, item 10A, old business. Request to consider amendment to previously approved consent judgment in Squires v. White Lake date change request. And I'm going to ask Lisa to comment on this.
Yep, the only request in this is a change of the date in which the structures have to be removed. After this township board approved the consent judgment, I reached out to the attorney, didn't hear back about whether his client was accepting the consent judgment as as adopted by the township board. I followed up a few times, and they finally responded after, anyway, they did respond, and they asked that we change the date of compliance from May 29th, which is at the bottom of paragraph 3, to June 30th.
So 30 days, basically?
Yes. Was June 30th, right?
Yes, I believe it was.
Okay. Does the board have a comment on this?
I see no reason personally. I did catch something, however, that I'm in major favor of, and I'm sure the attorney will as well. Here's a judge in a consented judgment that specifically says on page 3, item number 7, that says, no costs or attorney fees are to be paid by either party. So I like that. Our attorney has done this for free.
Right.
No cost to the township at all. So
He's been waiting all day to say that.
Thanks, Lisa. I appreciate it.
That was actually a bone of contention because I had added a provision originally that said, I left that, but then I said, however, if the township is forced to file.
I remember that, but I'm saying that we don't have to pay you.
I know
Yeah, so
what
that's
you're
correct.
saying.
You want to put that in the form of a motion?
So I'm sorry, before we got silly there, back up. Did we, what was the consensus to change for 30 days, to extend 30 days?
May 29th to June 30th.
Right, we didn't really discuss it yet. Does anyone have any thoughts?
I think Mr. Powell said,
I just
trustee
said I
Powell said
didn't
he
have any
doesn't
problem
mind.
with 30 days.
I don't either.
I don't know why,
issue with it.
so.
Is there a specific reason? They didn't tell you?
I didn't ask.
She just gets a win, right?
Well, if we don't have an issue with 30 days, we don't have to go back to court anymore, right?
Yes, if we change the date to 30 days, they tell us that they will sign the consent judgment.
And I will say Lisa's been a lot nicer in her comments than I would have been because this has been really difficult to deal with. This is a difficult person.
Right.
And we need to try to extinguish this thing because it's been dragging on and they are completely inflexible. So if tonight you'll approve this and they'll sign it, then we can finally put to bed something that should have been put to bed months ago. And let us hope that it's finally over with.
What happens if, for some reason, they don't do what they say by the deadline?
And they default?
Then there, yeah.
And then what?
Then we file a motion to enforce the consent judgment in circuit court.
So if there are no more comments, Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the consent judgment as presented with the modification of the date from May 26th to June 30th, 2023, correct?
Correct.
Is the community development department okay with that?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll support that motion.
Okay, we have motion, we have support. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion passes. Okay, item 10B, second reading, ordinance to amend Chapter 12, Community Development, Article 2, Corridor Improvement Authority of the White Lake Township Code of Ordinances. Mr. O'Neill again?
Thank you. Just briefly, you have before you basically the same with the exception of the addition of a property ID number that fell out of the sequence at your last meeting. The second reading for the adoption of the Corridor Improvement Authority section of the ordinance. The only thing I want to add, and he walked out, is I forgot to thank Dave Heber, who showed up at the last Corridor Improvement Authority meeting and gave the whole group a little bit of a lesson on projecting property values, and he had some spreadsheets and went through some different formulas, and it was very helpful to all of us. So I'm sorry he's not here for me to thank him in person, but I will do so tomorrow. But I want to recognize him and his efforts with the group in helping move the Corridor Improvement Authority forward.
Mr. Roman?
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the amendment of Chapter 12, Commercial Development, Article 2 of the, is it the CIA? CIA of White Lake Township Code of Ordinances.
Could you change that to community development instead of commercial development?
I will change that to community development.
I'll approve, I'll support.
Okay, we have motion and we have support by Mr. Powell. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None.
Mr. Chair, I have one comment.
Yes.
What I should have said when you approved the draft consent judgment, they are providing the attachment A. We don't have it yet, which is why it wasn't in your packet, but we are going to get it and have it attached before it's filed. And that Exhibit A, which will attach to the consent judgment, will be a survey of the property minus the accessory structures, so that there are no questions if for enforcement purposes in the future.
Good.
At least that's our effort. And I'm sorry, I should have said that during that discussion, but.
No problem.
All right, we're
Thank you.
good.
Okay, item 10C, second reading, ordinance to amend Chapter 8, Article 9, property maintenance of the White Lake Township Code of Ordinances.
You were right the first time,
Oh, I'm
Article
sorry.
4.
Article 4.
What this is, correct me if I'm wrong, Director O'Neill, this is going to be for the weed problem, not the weeds and the grass not being cut at businesses and residents within the township. By allowing us to publicate this, will give our ordinance officer and your departments the latitude to act quicker on ticketing these people to get them to comply, correct?
Perfectly said, yes.
Thank you.
And the ordinance officer is looking forward to approaching it this way. It makes his job easier in the sense that he can get things done quickly instead of having to chase these things around.
We're
So
more efficient.
He'll be much more efficient, and this is something that he'll really appreciate having the ability to do.
Myself and Treasurer Roman were driving through and we saw the same building that we saw, and I don't want to name the business, that's vacated, and they're right back at it. And it would, last summer, I think.
Tim Hortons?
Correct.
That refuses to cut their lawn, yes.
Yes. We put a lot of time and energy to track that person down from Canada to a maintenance department, or company in Texas. And finally, what was it, about August when we finally got out there to get it cut?
Yeah, I think we spent $1,300 cutting their lawn last year that was rolled onto their tax bill. That's quite a few cuts. So they basically don't cut their lawn, or maintain their property whatsoever.
But this is residential, correct? Though also.
It's all properties,
Okay, that's what I thought, okay.
yes.
So I'm in favor of this.
Just before we vote here, I don't see it, I apologize, but we talked last month, and I think it's important to make Mr. Hudson's job go smoother and less hostile, that we are going to give them one warning letter or notification so that, it's just easier on him, I think is important, that he can do his job peacefully, so do we need to add that? Because I don't see it in here, but we certainly talked about it.
Why don't you add it to the motion?
I think what we would do is just sort of give that direction to him for this first year, at least for this first month.
Right.
So people know.
We
and we'll
talked about
ease-
it last year. I think we included it last month. We talked about it, and I think we added it in our motion. I just don't see it in here.
I don't think we want to put it in the ordinance. I don't think we want to be required to have to do that. I think it was more of the board's direction to the staff as a courtesy as we roll this out to handle it that way. And Jason I remember him saying last month that he's okay with that and he fully intended it. The goal of this isn't to make it hard on anyone. It's to make it easier on the staff if we don't get compliance, and the neighbors who are seeking that compliance through our office to get satisfaction, to get it cleaned up.
It's smoother for everybody, for the residents to know it's coming.
Absolutely.
It's better for Jason to
So-
handle it.
So the notice will be in the paper for everyone. It'll be published repeatedly, monthly. It'll be published during this period of time every year. But he will go out to those, those properties and still contact them as a courtesy. So for this first month, it's going to be a lot of work for him. But after that, everyone will have fair notice and we'll have to keep the property up.
I asked Officer Hudson today, a month ago, he's working on the condos that are directly behind Dollar General in that facility over there. They've got graffiti, a bunch of garbage piling up, and their maintenance company is not doing what they're supposed to. Immediately, he was on it. I got contacted today. I sent out an email. Immediately, he was talking to the resident because I'm on that email chain. He's very responsive. And I think we want to not make it restrictive on his end as well, make it smoother process. Is that what you're saying?
Right. This month, he's notifying everyone. So it's not in effect yet.
First time is what we agreed.
So
Just the
all those
time.
first timers, because the grass is really starting to grow, we're getting complaints already. So this month, he's basically giving everyone fair warning. So in a couple of weeks, when, June rolls around and the publication rolls out and this notice is in effect, we'll begin cutting lawn. And our hope is that if someone does fail to comply, that it'll only take a time or two before they say, well, they mean business. They're going to.
And also, he checks into it. So if it's an elderly person that's having issues, he's very diligent about checking into that and working with those people. He's not going to go out and just hammer them with a ticket. I've watched him. He's very professional with the way he handles things. So I think this is going to be a great tool.
The timing's actually pretty good because May is when we start getting grass complaints. So this month, he's getting lots of complaints and he's having to go through the process we've always gone through. And so he's really taking this time to educate all the, complainants. So those complaining and those who are receiving the complaint or receiving, I guess, a violation are both starting to understand what the process will look like from now on. So June and then into the foreseeable future.
I think when we talked about this last month, the point we were making was that nobody's going to be reading the paper to see these announcements, and these offenders aren't going to be aware that this exists. So if this township just sends out a mowing crew out of nowhere and Jason doesn't show up and tell them ahead of time, this is what we're going to do to you, they're not going to have any idea because they're not getting that paper, because we're not getting that paper. We're not reading it. So, and if we leave it out of the ordinance, and Jason is, as great as he might be, he won't be here forever. And then it falls onto the next guy, and then it's not in the ordinance, and then they say, well, it's not in the ordinance. So I think that was the point that we were making prior, is why we wanted him to go out and make contact with these people that are going to be offenders. And not that they're always going to be the same ones, it's just like, hey, we're here, this is what's going to happen to you, I feel like a human coming out and, a representative of this township showing up and going to your house and saying, this is going to happen is, much better than.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
So just to get back to the technicalities here, this is second reading, which means this came to first reading. I don't recall anybody asking for changes to the ordinance. I also interpreted the discussion to be send out a courtesy letter. I didn't know you wanted changes to the ordinance. That's fine if you do, but if you do, then we have to table this because between first and second reading, we have to publish notice of the ordinance adoption, which is what was done. And so here today, it's for adoption. So if you do want the ordinance amended to reflect that, then you can't take action on this ordinance today.
I'm not adamant about changing this ordinance. I'm just discussing what was talked about prior.
And I believe that's a great point, but whoever does end up taking that job down the road, I think our director would communicate that very well professionally to that individual that we're going to handle it this way and set the tone for what's going to take place. That's my feelings on it.
Ultimately,
I
the
did think
supervisor would be
that-
responsible.
I did think that, I thought we were clear that we wanted that added into the process, so I did kind of think it was gonna be in the ordinance. Only so that Jason or our future ordinance officer has that tool in his box when somebody really is like, I didn't know and it's not in here, they can point back to it. So I think it makes a process smoother to incorporate it somehow.
But it's kind of like,
Well, let me just finish. I know you don't want to republish, and that's a cost that we'd have to incur to the township. So how can we creatively incorporate it then? Post it on our website, maybe? We got to get it out there somehow, because
Next
there's no
time we
new,
make a
people
change-
aren't reading newspapers.
But we're posting anyway to the newspaper, would that maybe
To
work?
this particular ordinance.
Okay, correct.
Yeah.
So why don't we approve it, and the next time we amend this ordinance, we'll throw that in. That way we're not separately paying for
Yeah, okay. I just,
And we can certainly put a tag on the, or a banner on something on the website that alerts everyone to this new
yeah, I
ordinance,
just think
just to take an
somehow we
extra
got to
step.
communicate it. I just think it'll go so much smoother all the way around for all parties involved if it's communicated well.
Yeah. And I will say this, there are some instances where people, there's something going on in their life and they just can't cut their lawn. So it's not like they all wish their lawn to look this way. But then on the flip side, there are others that are habitual offenders, and this will really be a nice tool for the township to be able to just take care of these things rather than chasing people around to cut their lawn like they should know that they have to, at least for the sake of their neighbors, if they don't care about the look of their own yard. Because there are lawns that are as tall as this table and then some every year, habitually.
It also expedites a process, so it speeds it up, and that allows our ordinance officer, who could be Jason, when he retires or whoever can focus on other areas in the township that we really need to.
I think that's a great.
So we're saving on man hours.
Yeah, that's a great point. A lot of his time, especially in spring, when we get cool nights and we get rain, the grass grows like crazy. And to your point, he spends so much time on grass complaints in a normal year, and this will free him up to do other things.
Wasn't the letter intended to go to first-time offenders, correct?
I thought that's
First-time
what
offenders.
we all agreed upon, yeah.
That's what we did.
Some sort of communication, a phone call, a letter, a visit to their house if he sees them in the yard, whatever, some notification to give them a courtesy.
Right.
Right.
Scott, can I make one additional comment? I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was very kindly notified by our deputy clerk that I misspoke on the order of publication. The notice of consideration was published, which is a requirement prior to adoption. You can make changes still, then publish a notice of adoption after. I just don't want to sit here and craft language to the ordinance sitting here today, so I would still ask that you table it.
Knowing him, he might have already done that.
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to correct, it was a misstatement, and I apologize for that. I'm off my game.
Do we not want to still approve this?
Yes.
Yes, we
Right?
want to
Still
approve
want to
this,
approve it.
Absolutely.
but Deputy Clerk Santiago is saying that we could potentially add that to the publication now, right? Is that how I understand it?
One more time, sorry.
So we can adopt this, and then Deputy Clerk Santiago is saying that we can put that language in now to notify?
No, this board has to do the adopting. My only clarification was that the notice, the law says you have to publish once in the form it was introduced, which you did. It was introduced last meeting, it was published. Then you have to publish after it's adopted. So you can make changes today. I just don't want to craft language for an ordinance sitting here today.
Okay, I got you now.
Okay. Can you help us with a motion, Lisa?
Motion for adoption?
It would
Is that what
just
we're
be a
looking for?
motion to.
Just a motion for.
I'll give it a try. I move, or this board moves to approve the ordinance to amend Chapter 8, Article 4 of the Property Maintenance of White Lake Township Code of Ordinances as presented.
Can you put second reading in your motion?
No, that's it. He's right.
We're adopting it.
Okay, okay. I'll support it.
Okay, we have motion, we have support by Treasurer Roman. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion is adopted. Okay, moving on to item 11, FYI, update on 9885 Cedar Island Road.
I feel like I should just pass.
No update?
You can't pass.
Yeah, the update on 9885 Cedar Island Road. It's an interesting update. As you know from the last meeting, we are working, they have an attorney who's helping with both properties that are now in enforcement. One's in the district court, one's in the circuit court. As it relates to 9885, the attorney's very cooperative. We had a meeting a couple of weeks ago, and the attorney agreed to allow Mr. Hudson onto the property with the fire officials to look at the property and verify, its condition, and assist in creating a timeline of when things need to be done. That meeting, due to the schedule of the property owner and occupant, couldn't happen until Monday. And they went after hours to accommodate the schedule of the property owner. When they went to the property, however, the occupant of the property would not allow them inside of the Sarah property. And we had a conversation. I'm mixing up the two properties because they're kind of related. You just want me to update on 9885?
Well, that's what's on the agenda.
All right. The trailer, the structure has been removed on 9885 Cedar Island. There's still a lot of junk and debris. There's still a lot of work to be done. But the structure itself, which was our biggest concern, has since been removed from the property. We are still working with the property owner and their attorney in coming up with a timeline to get all that cleaned up. But I'm told by Mr. Hudson, it's going to take time. The litigation is still ongoing. We don't have any deadlines that are coming up quickly. So we're just going to see how far we can go without doing any more work in the litigation and try to prod it along a little bit.
Lisa, just really quick too, I talked to Mr. Hudson today and he had looked into the pole barn because there was some question as to the condition inside that barn and it's just being used for storage based on his and the fire marshal's observation.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Civic Center Committee update.
Mr. Powell?
All right. Just to bring the rest of the board up to most updated position, we've been meeting with the architect and the construction manager for both buildings, and also with the civil engineer who's doing the design for the entire site, all three projects. It's progressing very, very well. As you probably know, the public safety building is pretty solid in the design. The committee has given the architect, police department, fire department some items to think about in maybe reducing some of the size of rooms in anticipation of the potential of saving of costs. We have not received a cost estimate for the public safety building yet, so we don't know if we're meeting our budget goals yet. That's going to be, quite frankly, I believe in the next 30 days, by the end of June. Is it the end of June? We're supposed to have those numbers to be able to bring back to this board so that everyone knows that we are staying on budget. And this board then is the ultimate decision as to the design and the budget and the size of the building. So that will be brought back before you.
Who's going to provide the numbers?
Our construction manager, which is Basney Smith. And so they are, is it McCarthy Smith, not Basney. McCarthy Smith. And so they are anxious to get a hold of the construction drawings, or at least the preliminary construction drawings for that building, so that they can do a cost analysis for that building. They're also going to be charged for doing the construction estimate for the entire site work, both for the two buildings and the potential earthwork and utility expansion into the future area, the future development area for the township that we would be looking to sell to the private sector. Probably the biggest issue that we are trying to evaluate and develop now is the overall design concept for the township hall and the siting of the township hall and the pavement and the access to the township hall. The architect presented a concept to where what departments are going to be next to what departments, and in the corridor that's going to provide access for the public to each of the departments in the township. The committee had some suggestions as to maybe moving some of the departments around and putting some departments next to others to allow the public to access it a little bit better. We came to a major conclusion that the architect in his, and we kind of like it, in his thinking, he was trying to maybe be a little too creative for this township. He was looking to maybe have an X-type building with the lower floor north and south and the upper floor east and west, and have maybe the upper floor overhanging the lower parking lot. It just not only was out of White Lake Township's idea, quite frankly, it was way too modern looking, quite frankly, for us. And therefore, we dictated to him that he was to put the buildings, stack the levels on top of each other. So we have a basement level in which we've directed him to put the board, the township boardroom, and the senior center facilities in that lower level, along with an expansion area so that this, if this board ended up with a special meeting that had much bigger crowds, that we could open up the back area and allow the much better attendance at special meetings. And then the senior center, when they had a special event, they could expand into that area as well. So we have kind of a mutual use in a recreation type area. The township board level is a walkout area. It will have parking at the lower level, and it will have glass along the westerly side so that the board would be exposed to the beauty of to the west and the woods and the wetland area, as well as the senior center would look towards the west. And then the second story, or the main level from the east side, would have its access from a parking area and a drop-off area coming from the east side into the main corridor into all the departments. And we kind of reviewed the overall design, and we were informed by the building department and the community development department that for some reason, builders, when they come in, are not necessarily clean boots and track a lot. So we have agreed to a secondary entrance into the building department and the DPW area, which would, right now anyway, being proposed at the southerly end of the building. And then the corridor would loop down through and back out to the main entrance to the drop-off area. We also were very concerned, the architect really wanted the main corridor that the public accesses all the departments to be along the easterly side of the building. That side of the building is going to look out over a parking lot and the drop-off area, very little green. And we stressed to the architect that this site, we were looking for this site to really play off of the westerly side of our property, so that we wanted the public to be able to participate and view the site over the wetlands and the lake, instead of having the offices back up to that area. We just did not feel that the department heads, which is where the architect had all the offices, needed to have the best view in the township hall. We wanted the public, we wanted the employees to have that best view, so we dictated that the main corridor was going to be on the westerly side of the building, to where the public, when they come into the building, have the total view out the westerly side of the building. That the employees, when they're sitting at the counters, at their open area of the desks, would have the view out that side as well. And the department heads, if they wanted, they could look out their small little window into the parking lot to the east. So we gave him some definite direction as to now how to design the building, because it was being delayed with too many decisions being made, and so we are not being made because there's too many options there. So, and then the third story is, as presented anyway, is not going to be the supervisor's office. He's not going to have a upper suite in the upper part of the building. We've got that being proposed as mechanical space, as well as employee activity area, kitchen area, lunchroom area, and potentially even have a balcony that they can go out on the westerly side of the building and enjoy an outdoor eating area in the summertime. So we're looking to have an excellent place for the employees of the township to work and enjoy the new township hall as well.
Storage up there too.
And we have storage up there so that, any expansion in the future, that storage can be moved off-site or somewhere else, so that we're trying to build the building for the next 50, 60, 70 years. So if it needs to be expanded, it can be expanded in that area, and we can remove the storage out of the upper floor. So we're very anxious, and we've given the direction to the architect to try to get us a floor plan and some basic layouts to present to this board at our special meeting on the 24th. I think that's next week, if I'm not mistaken, or 2 weeks, so that we can at least present something to the board, hardline in paper, so that you can see it. So the architect is probably up right now still drawing, because he thinks he's going to try to get it done. So if you have any questions, we've really tried to do a great deal. Probably the biggest right now disagreement is the architect would like the garage door for the DPW building to be on the main floor, accessed from the east. There are a couple of us that believe that maybe that garage, the DPW garage, should be on the lower floor underneath the building. But we're anxious to have the architect come back with the pros and cons of those two locations. But it's coming along very well. We're very pleased. We're excited to share with you what the this is what the presentation is to the rest of the board, so we can get the entire board's input before the architect goes too much further and actually develops the drawings for the construction manager to price out. That's a mouthful, and I'm sorry for the recording secretary that has to try to put that in English. But are there any questions that you guys have?
I would ask you, since you did such a great job on all those facets, if you can just touch base a little bit for the board on the idea of building green and sustainability, just kind of that thought process, Mike?
So the architect, rightly so, would like this building to be as sustainable as possible. And there are steps that can be designed into this project, and each step is a costly step. So if we wanted to tell the architect that we wanted to be LEED certified, platinum LEED certified, that would be the most expensive way to design this building, and that would mean that we'd have to use recyclable products. And there's a number of ways that you get points in order to be certified LEED. Our architect is LEED certified, so he could do that. However, he agrees, and we have guided him, that this board, probably the township, should not put the money into a LEED certified building, but build as much into the sustainability of the building as possible. So we're building in geothermal heat to be able to utilize the more constant temperature of the ground to allow our heat source, our heat pumps, to be as efficient as possible. He is designing a roof structure to where it would at least hold solar panels. Whether or not we agree to install solar panels at this time or not will depend upon our budget. But there are solar panels out there that can virtually operate the electricity necessary for that whole building as well. Because as everyone knows, Michigan has 100% sun full-time year-round. Obviously, we don't. But all of that is a possibility, and he's working on providing those options to this board so that we know not only what's available for the sustainability of the building, but what those cost implications are for us to do that. So we're looking forward to hearing about all those options as well, so that we can make some intelligent decisions. It'd be great if we could reduce the heat and electric bill of that new building, knowing where this country may or may not be going in the future. So we'll have those options and those decisions to make as well.
Oh, yeah, really smart. Yeah. Thank you.
So if I may, I'd like to springboard from some of your comments, because we're starting to get further along in the process and more in depth, and I appreciate the update. But I'd like to to ask my colleagues at this time and engage in a conversation, discussion to make a subcommittee to include women in this building. I'd very much like Andrea and myself, there's about 52% women in this township, and we're not equally represented. I'd like them to be equally represented in the development and design of this civic center. So I'd like to propose a subcommittee of Andrea, myself, and Scott, since we're not a part of this committee, that gives an equal balance. It gives a round robin concept where we can too have input and involvement and idea sharing and go back and forth. But it's being noticed by residents in this township that women aren't put on committees, especially something so important as this large of a footprint for the future of our township. So I don't know if we want to, how we take action on that, or if we want to poll the interest, if that would be, this board is interested in making a subcommittee. And the three of you would continue to handle the construction aspect or the, whatever your civic center committee is doing at this time. But there's certainly a lot more to be done as this building progresses.
I think that's a great, personally, I think it's a really excellent point. The supervisor appoints the committee members, but I want to point out to not only this board, but the residents, that these are all public meetings. They're not private, and so.
But we can't attend them because then it becomes a quorum. So we either have to round robin them.
That's a great point.
We either have to round robin them, so some of us can attend and, swap out somebody for somebody. Or I think it would be a great idea to create a second committee to take some of the load and weight off of some of the decisions and design and what's happening.
Well, I think what we're trying to do here is get through the many nuances of, there's so many moving parts as the three of us, and as you could hear, this is just a smidgen of what has been talked about coming to design the building, or what goes in what. I don't disagree with you, because I'm not very good at picking out those types of things. That's my weakness, but we're still a ways out with at least 7 months of pre-con meetings, is what McCarthy and Smith had told us. So we have a lot of moving mechanics just to get to that part. When you agree, Trustee Powell?
I think, quite frankly, Liz's interpretations, it's getting to the point to where this would be a great time to institute that. We're getting to the point to where the construction, and I'm going to put my engineering hat on, it has a great deal to do with the siting and the engineering and things like that. It's going to get to a point to where I'm going to agree with Clerk Noble that my expertise is going to run out, because I know nothing of placement of rooms. That's a staff issue. I have no idea how to design interiors, what's important, what's not, the views, all of that kind of stuff. And so I'd be more than willing to back out of my position on that if, when it gets to the point to where the supervisor believes that different impressions should be presented. So I'm in total agreement with you.
Thank you. And I do have experience in when we built the library, and sometimes there are so many moving parts. It's a lot of extra meeting and time on each one of you. So to spread it out between the 6 of us makes sense. And I'm sorry, but it's due time that Andrea and I and Scott are appointed to a committee.
So the question is, Andrea has, and this is an issue because
I can't meet during the day.
you would have to meet during the day.
I can't do, I work 8 to 4.
So everything is done during the day.
I can't.
So.
As a
So
female
that's an
on the
issue.
side, I'm 100%, I have very little flexibility.
Yeah.
I can't meet until 4:30.
I would just say, Liz, I think you're onto something. I just don't think we're there yet to where you need it.
No,
We're so early stage right now. Mike Powell's been a huge contributor with his engineering skills when it comes to grading and what do you call it? Retention, detention, kind of all that stuff. where the roads should go, where they shouldn't go.
Stubbing the
Stubbing utilities. And our committee right now, everything we relay to the architects have been what this board has directed us, to look into. Mike's, great example to where we want our offices and the public to look out to the west. We really haven't gotten anywhere else. And we've told the architect, look, we want to bring the board in on this thing. And his message to us is we're not there yet.
I understand.
Wait till he gets a
That's why I
very.
didn't ask it for to be on the agenda tonight, but I just saying we need to start thinking about it because you'll be surprised things will start to move very quickly.
So
When
I've
they're
never
ready,
built
they're
a
gonna
building
go.
before, and you're probably right. But I think once the schematics start to come to the board, we want your input, okay? We don't want this project to take place with 3 heads in it. We want 7.
And to your point, this isn't our project. This is White Lake Township and the stakeholders' project. And to Trustee Powell's comment, I'm okay being in a small office. I'm okay because, this is going to go out for the next 50, 60 years. To the view, we're trying to push our architect, which we are, and I would give credit to Trustee Powell with that, the last meeting, but we have very aggressive meeting schedules in the next few weeks to get him up to speed where the police and fire department is. When we get to that spot, how I envision things until the last couple of meetings, it's starting to come together based on just some ideas, and not our ideas, it's the room's ideas. So don't disagree with it, we're just not there, and we have to push a little more aggressively. We're meeting sometimes 2 to 3 times a week. We're really gonna start meeting by the end of the month. We'll probably have 3 to 4 meetings to get to that point, but totally agree with you as far as that.
I know
That's
what it's like.
that's something.
I know what the
yeah.
schedule is like. I built a building in this township with McCarthy and
Well,
Sons,
I'm just-
so I mean, I'm very aware.
Yeah, and I
of
don't
the
think we're
schedule
trying to
and what's
exclude
gonna
anybody.
happen.
We're not trying to exclude
So,
anybody.
I'm just talking about it tonight because it's something
Yeah.
we need to think about soon.
Yeah,
Not-
and we are
not
thinking
on
about
the
it.
agenda tonight, but
We
it's-
have brought that up, and we have brought
agree.
that up within our meetings. As far as I'd be the first again, and Trustee Powell will say it, I couldn't pick out granite or, fixtures or any of that stuff. That's not my expertise. I'm more concerned about what it's gonna cost. Are we gonna meet our financial obligation?
Yeah, we're all
And
concerned
the
about
debt, we have a lot of, we wanna make sure that we're not putting a millage on the taxpayer. We're trying to be as economically sound, not build the Taj Mahal, but have it user-friendly where people look at it. And I think with that parkland behind, with that view, people see that, they become part of the community right there. And that's the vision I think the whole entire board would like to see, the objection of that. And I think we'll get there. We have a great team.
I think Liz has a great point. It's amazing how much one person's perspective can change something.
Fast.
If Carol Burkhart was sitting here, we would spend entire meetings talking about ADA compliance on this new building. You know what I mean? And we don't discuss
And
it at all now.
gazebos.
So, yeah, I agree, but I don't know how to go about it. Maybe it's a supervisor issue, but,
Well, I
I'm
just
definitely
was,
open to
we
it.
just,
I
Well,
think it
we all wanna
requires
do it,
further
so-
discussion at the meeting where the first schematics come out. I think we should talk about your concern. I think it's valid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, great point. Thank you for the update, if that's. if
I have
there's
one
nothing-
more.
Oh, sorry.
Treasurer Roman and I had a chance to drive out to the roundabouts at Taggardine and Elizabeth Lake Road. They're ahead of schedule. They're very pleased with it. They wouldn't give us a completion date, but the work is farther than what we had went out a few weeks prior when we received all that rain. They had a lot of rain delays, but they're caught up and past where they thought they would be. So I was really pleased with that with Oakland County. Go ahead, sir.
I was just going to say really quickly too, the A133 agreement and the A201, which are the contracts that we engage in with the construction manager. They're ongoing. I will hopefully have the reviewers' comments all together by Wednesday to get back to the committee so they can kind of start kicking that back and forth in hopes that we'll have it for you to consider in June. So that is just sort of the follow-up to the B133 with both architects and the engineering contract with the civil engineers. So this is sort of that last piece to have everybody under contract. That's coming right along.
Great. Okay, thank you. All right, trustee comments? So, who do we start with tonight? How about Andrea?
Thank you. This weekend is one of my favorite activities of the year. No has, 9 o'clock to 1 o'clock at the Kohl's parking lot. Get all your hazardous waste, bring it to Kohl's, and keep White Lake green, and keep it out of the water. May 29th, if anyone's interested, pancakes at the White Lake Inn to help support the fireworks for White Lake Township. If I remember correctly, it's 9 o'clock till 11 o'clock. Nothing more fun than going to the bar on a Monday morning and eating pancakes and supporting our wonderful fireworks that the White Lake Citizen League puts on every year.
What date is that?
May 29th. I can't tell you that.
Memorial Day.
Yeah, it's always traditionally Memorial Day.
That's for the Winter Carnival?
No, this is to help support the fireworks that we have July 1st.
Oh, okay.
Yep. This is just a personal thing. I'm a member of White Lake Presbyterian Church, and we now have a food pantry. It's been in existence for a little over a year, and it's called the Food for Friends. And our church, White Lake Presbyterian, is having their first annual Fantastic Family Fun Fair, a fundraising event, on June 3rd from noon to 4. Everyone is invited to come and support this wonderful mission for our whole community. There will be bounce houses, face painting, food, and music, live music all day. And like I said, this is our food pantry that's been around for a little over a year. I know every month I hear new numbers. I chose not to be a part of it. I have enough on my plate, but it's a great fundraiser. And my last final comment is to welcome Alexandra Shellac. She is our high school representative to our Parks and Rec. Meaning we didn't have a meeting in May, and I'm sure we'll have one in June. So we'll welcome Alexandra, and she'll be around until she graduates from Lakeland High School in 3 years. So welcome.
Great,
Nicely run meeting, Scott.
thanks. Trustee Smith?
Thank you. Okay, so library has a lot going on, which is really exciting. First of all, they have their strategic plan available online. It's on the website, and I believe the township has shared it in many ways. It's on our Facebook as well. So it's similar to what we put out as a township survey. They're looking for input and ideas from residents of what programming you'd like, how you'd like money spent. Please take the survey if you use the library. If you don't use the library, they want all kinds of opinions. It helps them plan for the next 5 years, our library. There's a steering committee, which I'm on, and then there'll be one-on-one focus groups with certain individuals and stakeholders in our community to give more in-depth interview and information about what they think about the library, what is going well, what could need improvement, things like that. So the survey is really important. It will just take about 15 minutes. It will be up until June 9th. The Friends of the Library also has a lot going on. They just had a wonderful tea and fashion show. It's the first time that the community room got used, and it was great. I attended it, and it was full, and it was wonderful to see that room being used. That's what we had envisioned when we built the library. So it was a wonderful fundraiser that supported the summer reading program. The summer reading program is going on from June 5th to August 12th. And then the Friends of the Library on May 20th from 11 to 3 is hosting their first homeschool curriculum sale. So if you're a homeschooler and you're looking for material or have material to sell, please stop by there. And then the library is trying to do all kinds of new fun things to bring to our community this summer. They're going to bring food trucks and some different kinds of music, concerts, use the patio more. So the library is really livening up this summer, so I invite you all there to join in the fun. And also, they brought the DIA DIA paintings along with White Lake Township. So we are hosting DIA paintings right now. There's one in the township, in Vetter Park, I believe, Holly Park, at the library, and there's 5, right? There's one more missing. I'll think of it. So anyways, that's a fun little thing to do that you can just go around White Lake and see the DIA paintings. Andrea mentioned hazardous waste on Saturday as well. I just want to remind residents that it is for residents, and we do check your driver's license, so please bring your driver's license. Then this, as we talked about in our resolution, is National Police Week. Not only does it honor fallen police officers, but it's just to celebrate our police officers in general. So please make sure that you thank them, that you let them know that they're appreciated. They love food, so stop by and, give them a special treat, a card, whatever you can think of to show your appreciation for them. It's to celebrate them and all that they do for our community. And then they're hosting their annual police open house on June 11th. That's tons of fun. Everything's free. There's a post about that on their Facebook if you'd like some more information. And then I just want to address the public comments tonight. I would like to talk about the second gentleman that spoke. He did mention fences. And I do think maybe that's something that Mr. Spencer can address as he's going through rental properties to perhaps, double check that fences are secure and working and there aren't holes in them or the gate is locking, or I assume you do that. Is that on your checklist, or can we add it to the checklist to make sure that we are helping those residents with that concern about fences, especially on that particular street?
We can look into that. And in the same way, not everybody who has a dog has a fence.
No,
So
just rental
keep that in
properties
mind,
that have a fence. Maybe you can just give it a once over and make sure, it's in good standing.
We can look at adding that to our checklist.
Okay, I think that would be, step in the right direction to help out, especially in that particular area that they were talking about. I personally, not my official capacity, but personally am a huge advocate for dogs, and I don't appreciate the breed being bullied. We have wonderful pit bull rescues in this community that do an outstanding job, that take food, water, shelter, warmth, blankets, go above and beyond to make dogs safe, get them veterinary care. Michigan Pit Bull Education Project is outstanding in our community, and we host them right here in White Lake. And I'm proud to have them in White Lake. And this breed does not deserve to be bullied. Any dog can bite. I had a loved one be bit by a German Shepherd. You unfortunately had someone killed in your family by a Rottweiler. It's not the breed. Let's educate people. Let's keep our yards safe. Let's have good fences, good tie-outs. Let's be good pet owners. That's where we should be spending our time instead of bullying a breed. Thank you so much.
Okay, Mr. Clerk.
The meeting's not the same without Supervisor Colwell. So I know you're watching. Hope you're doing well. But Trustee Ruggles did an excellent job chairing the meeting tonight. Very professional, and I appreciate it. And then the second thing I'd like to talk about is our police open house, which is Sunday, June 11th, from 12 to 3 p.m. this year. And we're going to have bouncy house, hot dogs, police rides in the police car. Anybody think of anything else?
It's fun.
And a rock wall.
A lot of various different things that the police department, a tour.
Helicopter.
We have a helicopter from Oakland County, usually fly in depending on the weather.
Last time there was so many people you couldn't even walk.
Yeah, it was a very, very big, well-attended event. And so I encourage any of the residents or outside the community to come and check out our police open house. Police Week is very dear to me. I spent 26 years serving. It's a little somber part of the job. We had a total of 42 deaths so far in this country. 3 were 9/11 related illnesses, 2 aircraft accidents, 6 automobile crashes, COVID-19 2, drowned 1, duty-related illness 3, fire 1, gunfire 19, motorcycle crash 1, and vehicular assault, meaning someone tried to use their vehicle to run over a police officer and succeeded, was 2. We're on pace for a record year. We're 200% up in on-duty fatalities for police officers. So it's a very serious thing out there that our country's going through. You might drive down the road and see a police officer that needs help. Don't drive. Please stop, call, get involved, call 911. That's saved quite a few police officers' lives over the years. So I like to thank every police officer in the country that takes it upon themselves to do this very dangerous job. And that's all I had to say.
Mr. Roman.
I'd like to thank everyone that attended today's board meeting. Thank you, thank you. I'd like to thank Trustee Ruggles for chairing today. Super job, Scott. And lastly, I want to thank all my board members for all of your great thoughts and ideas. I think as a team, this board gets it right, and that's because we work as a team. That's all I had, Scott.
Okay, Mr. Powell.
I just wanted to thank the attendees as well, and just certainly Scott, thank you for chairing. You did a great job. And we missed Supervisor Colwell in being the captain of the ship. So we want you back, Rick, and thank you, board.
Right. Okay. Yeah, it sure is strange not having Rick here. I was trying to think up some dad jokes. Maybe that would do him, but I couldn't think of any good ones.
Well, I hope he watched you today, Scott, because hopefully you gave him some tips.
Yeah. And thanks so much for the board allowing me to chair. I was thinking about it. I've been on ZBA, Planning Commission, Township Board, Wellhead Protection Committee, and I've never chaired any of them till tonight, so thank you very much. I hope I did an okay job. And thank you for PA 116. So we did this 6 years ago, my family, and for those of you that aren't familiar, so basically we've announced or agreed with the state of Michigan that we will continue to farm and use it for agriculture for 10 years. So and we get a tax break for enrolling in the program, but at the same time, we're basically announcing as property owners that, hey, don't even come ask us if we're going to do something, because we're not. So, anybody else that owns a big chunk, especially in 80 and White Lake, somebody's going to drive up and how much do you want, but they're going to know that we don't want anything, we're good. So thanks a lot for approving that. We intend to keep farming for a long time. And one other issue that I've been meaning to bring up is Ford Road. A stretch of Ford Road just south of M59 has gotten to be unbelievably horrible. And I don't know if any of you guys traverse this road, but you need a Jeep and a 4-wheel drive pickup, it is just, they're not even repairing the potholes. There's potholes that are gigantic. You have to drive it for yourself to see this. And the irony in it is that they're over there on Taggardine repairing stretches of road that really, in comparison are a 10, and they just totally ignore that because apparently they don't think enough people drive it, but a lot of people live there. So maybe this board should try to address the issue because the road commission obviously doesn't care. So
There's a phone number you can call, get directly to, it's the pothole phone.
You get a hold of somebody? I think it's more than just the potholes.
248-858-4804, and you can, when they answer, you can report a pothole.
I've been trying to get signs put up that the Parks and Rec or whoever would pay for, and the road commission won't even allow signs to be put up. They just, I don't know.
I do want to
don't think
say
they're gonna
that
fix it.
residents have contacted me about potholes, and they're just aren't getting to those back roads yet. So
This stretch of road is one pothole. all replaced, right, Nick? You've been down it?
I drove it today.
And it's just
Horrible.
unbelievable.
There's a couple subdivisions that the county is ignoring in the township, and unfortunately, Ford Road, that stretch of Ford Road is
You're relieved when you get to the dirt.
Yeah,
I mean,
you are.
honestly.
The dirt is fantastic.
graded,
It's almost
you know?
like, why even have that portion paved? Well,
Unbelievable.
fake paved.
Wow.
That's all, that's my oh, and the planning commission will not be meeting on Thursday. So, that is it. So, motion to adjourn?
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Good job.
thanks.
Awesome.